couple more people, and
Okay.
then we should be good.
Well, I hope everybody had a good Easter and Passover and
Thank you.
Yeah, we should be good.
okay, thank you. Welcome to the Wareham Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, April 20th, 2022. We have Elisa, Ron, Denise, Carol, Kwame, Michael, and Sandy. And if you're, I'll repeat, please mute yourself if you're not part of our project we're talking about. Thank you. All right. We will do our minutes later so we don't hold up people that are waiting for a hearing. Thank you. First hearing, please. Lisa, you're muted. Got
Okay,
it.
notice of public hearing. Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Section 6, a public hearing will be held on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. on the request for determination of applicability for Wareham Land Trust, care of Jenna Shea, P.O. Box 718, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to remove invasive plant species located on Assessor's Map 83, Lot 1019, 600 Main Street, Wareham, Massachusetts.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to represent this project?
Hello, yes, I am Jenna and I am here and I can represent it.
Thank you. Mr. Bichette will read the project.
Okay, so this project site is at 600 Main Street, and this is a piece of conservation land property owned by the Wareham Land Trust, and this application is to be allowed to remove invasive species on the property along the roadway in the area that's kind of outlined in red, where there's significant bittersweet, things of that nature that they would wish to remove by hand. So there will be hand trimming and pruning of bittersweet to get them out of the trees in that area. So some of this work is in the wetland or near the wetland, but again, all the work is to be done by hand. And that's essentially the extent of the work. The stuff that's in the trees that they can't reach will just be left there. And that's essentially the project. So as far as I'm concerned, it's relatively minor to get rid of an invasive species. So I would recommend the approval of the project with a negative determination number 2.
Thank you. Jenna, anything to add?
Just that when this initial removal is happening, there's going to be an educational portion beforehand. So any volunteers that come to help us do this removal will be educated before they start removing stuff on what's invasive and what's not, and the idea of those things. So just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Questions on the board? Lisa?
Jenna, is it true that an invasive plant is just a plant you haven't learned to love?
I feel like in some cases that can be true, but in my
I'm only making a joke.
definitely. Well, oh, but no, there's something to be said about, like, you know, autumn olive like provides an abundance of food to people.
I know. I'm sorry. Anybody else questions? Sorry, Sandy.
That's all right. Ask like a garden club member. Ron, any questions?
No questions from me. Thank you.
Denise?
No questions.
Carol?
No questions.
Kwame?
Good luck with the poison ivy and poison oak.
Thank you. We'll need it.
Michael?
Just don't trip on, just don't trip in like choking the wetlands or anything, that's all.
We'll try not to.
Jenna, who's the holder of the CR?
I passed it off to you. I think it's the Wareham Land Trust, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
What-
so Sandy, this is Elise LeDuc Fleming, the executive director of the Wareham Land Trust.
I
I
knew-
believe it's.
I knew you would be there.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm hiding in the background. I believe the town is the holder of the CR.
Does this have to be approved by the holder of the CR?
I don't believe so. I did
Okay,
read back through the CR to make sure that there wasn't any additional approvals needed. The right to remove invasive species was written into the CR.
yes, I just read the one for Bryant Farm, yes. It's a standard clause. That was my only question. Is there anybody on the line that would like to comment on this project?
I would like to close the hearing.
I
Second.
have a motion and I heard a second. All in favor, Elisa, Ron,
Yes.
Denise, Carol,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Michael, Sandy. Thank you. The hearing is closed. I'm gonna be as quick as I can with the names. We have 11 new hearings, so keep yourself active and don't mute. You won't have time to unmute. Okay, so we have a closed hearing
And I move that we accept the project as presented
with a -2.
with a -2 then.
That
Second,
is the motion and it's second till all in favor. Elisa, Ron,
yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Kwame, Michael, Sandy. You're done.
Thank you.
Dave, when can they start cutting?
Check with Dave.
Once I get them the paperwork, they can get out there and start getting at it.
So there you go. Wait for the Dave paperwork from Dave before you go and good luck. And I did appreciate your initial removal and maintenance and follow-up as part of your project description. I didn't expect anything but the best from the land trust. Thank you.
Well, thank you,
Next one,
guys.
please. Next
Have a
one,
good night.
please. Night.
Notice- We ready?
Yes,
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. on the request for determination of applicability for Faith and James Caporiccio, care of Lockwood Architects, P.O. Box 95, Onset, Mass. 02558, to install a paved driveway located on Assessor's Map 120, Lot 70, 1000, 1001, 5 Albatross Avenue, Wareham, Mass.
thank you. Is there anybody here to represent this project?
This was a project that would have been represented by Bill Lockwood. I had not seen him on, but so if the commission wants to,
That we tabled, I move that we table the discussion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to table. All in favor, Elisa, Ron, Denise,
Yes.
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Sandy, tabled.
Okay, next hearing. Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. on the request for determination of applicability for Ann Bengals, care of Braza Construction, 16 Main Road, Mendon, Mass., to install a paved driveway located on Assessor's Map 46A-1, Lot 24, 62 Pinehurst Drive, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Is there anybody here representing this project?
Braza Construction's here.
Paul, is that
Yes, Paul
Right.
Braza, yep.
okay? Mr. Bichette will read to the project.
okay, so this project site is at 62 Pinehurst Drive, and this project involves placing a paved driveway on this property. Currently, there was just a gravel driveway on the property, and recently there was some work done at the site to remove some tree stumps and whatnot, and the owner wishes to, at this point, put a paved driveway in that would be 30 by 30 feet in size. Again, up close to the road in the general location where they used to park. They are going to propose the driveway to pitch in either direction to the side versus sloping out back onto the street. So again, the project is in the buffer zone to the coastal bank and the coastal beach, approximately 90 feet from the coastal bank. So I would recommend the approval of the project with a negative determination number 3.
Paul, anything to add?
No, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's very easy to pitch the driveway the way we requested to both sides. We'll just crown it in the middle and keep the runoff to, filter into the ground.
Thank you. Questions, Lisa?
Yes, on either side of your 30 feet, how much space is there of ground?
On
Is that your
if
neighbor's
you're
ground?
if you're staring at the house on the left side, there's probably 10 to 12 feet.
Okay,
On the right side is about 3 or 4.
and what about your neighbors? Are they going to be affected by this?
They're not going to be affected by this. Their driveways are far away from that, and they have grass beside it. So
Then my other question would be, we're pretty favorable to a driveway that percolates water as well, so a pervious driveway. I don't know if you've given any thought to that, maybe.
we have not, because the driveway is not very large.
That's all the more reason, only because it would be cheaper, not cheaper than doing a regular one, but a pervious asphalt driveway, is my question.
Yeah, we have not thought about that, but we can think about it.
Thank you.
Ron?
I mean, I'm on the same lines of Elisa. I mean, I'm a little more okay with it if we're gonna have some sort of a pitch going to either side that's gonna be able to, absorb water into the ground, and not going off into the street. But, if any consideration could be, given to having it so that the water would run through the driveway would be appreciated. But, overall, I could understand with it flowing the way it's gonna flow.
Denise?
Just looking at the site, I thought pervious would work better than anything in that site, so that it wouldn't affect the neighbors at all.
But-
Carol?
Could I speak by any chance?
Yes, sorry, Paul.
Oh, no,
You
I'm
gotta
just
be-
asking.
You gotta be quicker.
I'm sorry, every driveway surrounding this property is asphalt.
Yeah, but it
I
doesn't
know
make it
that, but
right.
Okay.
It's always everybody else, so we're talking about you, though.
Okay, no, I understand.
And also that the coastal beach isn't very far away from where you are.
Okay, Denise, anything, did you get your answer?
I
Just
just
your statement.
would like them to do the pervious driveway versus just plain asphalt.
Carol?
Did we lose Carol?
Still on mute.
Carol, we can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Well,
I'm having trouble with my computer now.
Oh,
Okay. Kwame, any questions?
I mean, everybody else has, asphalt, I get that, but where's the water runoff? I didn't see on the street where there's any drainage, but I don't think that really matters at this point in time, but maybe in the future it will.
All right,
recommending, Kwame, what's your thought?
all right.
Pervious or impervious?
I mean, at this point in time, I mean, it's like, probably something of a gravel nature, but everybody around the area has asphalt, so I can see where he's coming from.
All right, I'm going, anything else, Kwame? Michael, anything?
Well, there's a garage that literally is like right next to the property. That's the neighbors, correct?
Yeah.
So I was correct. That's the neighbors, and the water's not gonna run right into that garage or affect that neighbor's property at all?
Where did he go?
Hi,
Paul?
I'm Ann. I'm the homeowner. I just figured out how to unmute myself. Can I just say something?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So the garage is over there.
Okay.
The driveway will end before the garage. That's my neighbor's garage. It's not mine, but it will end before that garage begins.
so
Um,
your paved driveway will be closer to the road than his garage is.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And just another question, I was unable to speak earlier because I didn't know how to work the mute button, but I think that you were talking about an impervious driveway. What does
Impervious driveway.
a pervious, sorry, a pervious driveway, what is that? Is that stone? I don't understand what that is.
Sorry,
Sorry,
a
Sandy.
pervious driveway would allow the water to flow through it and into the ground. It could be shells, it could be stone, it could be a impervious asphalt,
Impervious.
something,
Pervious asphalt.
yep, pervious asphalt. The problem with a pervious asphalt, it would have to be vacuumed every year in order to maintain its ability for the water to run through. So right now you have a pervious driveway by having stone. Can I ask why you want paved, why you want to pave it? I'll get my words.
Sure.
Can I ask Ann why you want to pave it?
Absolutely. So currently it is crushed stone and I live alone. That's actually my beach home. So it's my second home, but I don't have someone to help me rake all that stone back in after I plow, but I do use the house year round and it's a lot of work. And I know that like the crushed shell and stone is a nice look around there near the beaches, and some of the neighbors do have it, but honestly, they're seasonal. They're not there in the winter, so they let the snow melt. But the snow plows really destroy it, and it's a lot of work. And I have back issues, and I just would like it to be a nice, simple plow. Yes.
Okay,
Sandy?
Mike, sorry, yes, my question, but go ahead, Alyssa.
Okay. My question is I believe you can use a blower to clean off a pervious asphalt. I'm not sure, but it might be something to look into, that it's not something you have to pick up and drag here and there. You can, when Sandy mentioned that you have to clean it so it remains pervious, I think you can do that with a blower. I'm not sure. Sandy,
Okay.
maybe you know.
It's my understanding you need to vacuum it. You need to pull the sand up out of the crevices that the sand has fallen into for use. But here's a question for you. Paul, this is more you. You're having it pitched so it draws the water to both sides of the driveway. Is there anything going to be planted along that proposed 30-foot driveway that would collect the water and filter it into the soil before it runs down Pinehurst?
Yes, according to when Ann and I met, she was gonna do plantings along both sides. And we had some crushed stone also in there to accept the water.
Yeah, because my concern is that right now, the nearest storm drain for Pinehurst Drive for where you are is down at the corner of Cottage Street, and it's higher
Yes,
than the Cottage Street, which means any water from your property will run down Cottage Street and into the Cove, into
No,
that stormwater basin at the end of the Cove. And I'm very concerned about that water runoff. But as long as you're proposing that it will flow into either side of your driveway. And I totally understand my stone driveway was plowed and I can't see my floxes underneath all the stone. I think I've lost them all. So I totally understand what it is to maintain a plowed driveway of stone. Any
No,
other
we-
comment by the board? Nope. Anybody on the line would like to speak to this project?
Move to close the hearing.
Second,
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor, Lisa,
Yes.
Ron, Denise, Carol,
Yes.
Kwame, Michael,
Yes.
Sandy. Hearing is closed.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, we haven't voted on anything yet. We just closed the hearing. Someone want to take us?
would move to accept the project with the standard order of conditions.
No,
And-
it's an RDA.
Oh, I'm sorry. But-
-3.
-3, but I would like to state that there definitely must be the crushed stones and the planting along the side so that it takes up the water.
Perfectly understandable.
Okay,
Second.
wait a minute, I'm making a note. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, Alyssa, Ron, Denise.
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Kwame, Michael, Sandy, you got the project. Please don't do anything until you get the paperwork from Mr. Pichette.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Before I go any further, I'd like to, anybody online, we are 4 continuances. Ryan VLACO. 72 Burgess Point Road wants a continuous. Scott Green, 17 Murphy Street wants a continuance. Motto at 21 Old Glen Charlie wants a continuance, and Wareham PV1 wants a continuous. In case there's anybody on the line for those projects, we will not be discussing them. Okay, so the next one,
Excuse me, did you say Wareham PV1 is continued?
Yeah.
yes, they've asked for one.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6. Public hearing will be held on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022 at 6:30 PM on the request for determination of applicability for architectural fireplaces. Care of Civil and Environmental Consultants, Inc., 21 Bellows Road, Rainham, Mass. 02757. To install water lines located on Assessor's Map 134 at Lot 10, 1003, 24 Sandwich Road, Wareham, Mass.
thank you. Is there anybody here for this project?
Yes, for the record, Steve Gioso with Civil and Environmental Consultants.
GIOIOSA.
Very good.
Well, I can read it on the screen. Thank you. Mr. Bichette will read to the project and then we'll ask you for your comments.
Okay, so this project site is at 24 Sandwich Road, and this property is at the corner of Sandwich Road and Avenue A. And the proposal is to install a water main from Avenue A into the site to provide fire protection service for this building, which is being renovated and redone. So the work is within a coastal flood zone and within the buffer zone to wetlands that exist on the other side of Avenue A. The work involved would be trench work to install that line, which would be just that area between the street and the building as shown on the plan. The work ultimately would be relatively minor in my view, so I would recommend the approval of the proposed work with a negative determination number 2.
Thank you. Steve, anything to add?
Not specifically, unless the board has questions. The reason we picked this location, though, for the connection versus coming into Sandwich Road is that you can see the Sandwich Road water mains on the opposite side of the street. It'd be a much more intrusive operation to come in from Sandwich Road, a lot more activity, a lot more disturbance of the land. So That's what drove the location here. And this is an upgrade for fire protection and domestic water supply.
Yes, the people on Route 6 would not be happy with the closure.
No.
You're going to put wattles in as
Yes.
opposed to hay bales?
Well, we thought because there's a paved driveway on that side, the grades, at least in this area where the cut is closest to the resource area, relatively flat. And so we thought that that would be appropriate given the limitations on putting silt fencing in that area.
Okay, thank you. Questions on the board, Elisa,
No.
Ron,
No.
Denise,
No questions.
Carol,
No questions.
No questions, thank you.
Michael.
No questions. Thank you.
Oh, Sandy already asked hers. Anybody online would like to comment on this project?
Come on, move in.
Don't hear anybody.
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion to close the hearing in a second. All in favor, Lisa, Ron,
Yes.
Denise, Carol,
Yes.
Tommy, Michael,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yep.
the hearing is closed.
Okay. Are we ready?
No, we got to vote on it. What do you
Oh.
want? Someone has to give me a motion for a -2.
I move that we accept the project with a negative determination number 2.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, Lisa, Ron,
Yes.
Denise, Carol,
Yes.
Yes.
Tommy, Michael, Sandy, yes. So Steve, you got it. See Mr. Prichette for the paperwork before you start anything, okay?
Very good. Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you. Night.
Night.
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. on the request for determination of applicability for Warren Pine, 264 Cremesa Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571. For beach nourishment located on Assessor's Map 51, Lot 205, Penobscot Way, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Is there anybody online that will represent this project?
Yes, Warren Pine.
Okay, Mr. Prichette will read to the project.
Okay, this project site is at 7 Knobska Way, which is down at the end of Cremesa Road. And this project involves the placement of beach sand for beach nourishment at this particular site on a coastal beach and partially on the coastal bank. Approximately 12 yards of sand is proposed to be placed in the area marked in red, as you see on the plan. The sand would all be placed above the mean high water mark, and the sand would just be spread by hand or with a small machine such as a bobcat if necessary, but I think predominantly it can be moved around by hand. That essentially is the project. The sand would be a compatible material with the beach sand that currently exists there. This is a relatively small volume of sand for this area, so I would recommend the approval of the work with a negative determination number 2.
Thank you. Warren, anything to add?
No, I think David described it well. Well, I guess, yes, it's taken quite a beating. There are revetments on either side, and all of the few areas of Cremesa Point that still have sand and not rock revetment have taken quite a beating over the last few years, especially last summer's storms, and even over to Knobska Point around the corner where the Gleasons are. The coastal banks have retreated quite a bit. The areas I've had analyzed in the past, as David is familiar with, and the beaches are quite sediment starved because of all of the rock revetments. I know it won't last, but at least it would stop the bank from being further eroded and damaged. Any questions?
Elisa,
My only question is, how long do you think it'll last? And when was the last time it was done?
It was not done in, that I know of, ever. I did propose years ago with David and had a lot of work done to do a rock revetment there, which I am now glad I did not do for different reasons, because there would be no sand there at all.
Right.
There'd be all rock now. So well, I guess Aubrey Consulting, they analyzed the whole situation. Dr. Lee Wisher came and did the analysis, and he said in the 60s, when the channel was dredged down into the Wareham River, they put thousands of cubic yards of sand they blew laterally up onto the beaches. So that's when it was last done, with thousands of cubic yards up to 6 to 8 feet on those beaches. And when he analyzed it, he said that's all gone.
Hey,
So quite sediment
Ron?
stuff.
No
Ron,
question.
Denise,
Is this like a normal, am I muted? Is this like a normal thing to do to the beach? I'm not quite sure. I understand.
Well, there's certain situations in different parts of town where erosion occurs, whether it's due to storms or whatnot, or just being wind blown off. And there is the ability for somebody to request to be able to put beach nourishment or additional sand onto the beach. And so we have permitted that in a number of other locations around town, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, and then exactly how do they determine what type of sand to put down? I mean,
Well,
you
they
can't
take a
just-
sample of the existing sand and bring it
Yeah.
to a place that supplies sand, and they match the sand and make sure the grain size is compatible with what exists.
Okay, and that has been done?
Yes,
That
I
would
have.
have to. Go
Sorry,
ahead,
David.
Lauren.
Thank you. I have samples which I intend to bring to David.
Okay, all right, thank you.
well, I don't think David wants them.
Really?
Yeah, the sand samples would be brought to the sand supplier to match up the sand sediment grain size, and then that report of what the results are and that you have something compatible would be brought back to the commission, and then the project could go forward from there. So that's basically called a sieve analysis. And so the applicant would provide the sieve analysis to the commission before the sand would be placed.
Okay,
Yes.
anything else, Denise?
No, that's it, thank you.
Carol,
No questions.
Kwame,
I mean, I know that when I walked there, it definitely looked like it was regressed a lot. And it was, but are you bringing any boulders or anything in there too as well, or are you just doing this to sand?
Just sand.
Yeah.
I understand boulders would be a whole different process.
Yeah. Okay, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Michael,
Thank you.
Warren, you have a small little stone wall there, correct?
Yes.
How far from that point will this sand be placed?
Shoreward or towards the water,
Toward the water.
above mean high water.
So
So
you'll be
are you
covering-
mean in footage? That was measured by D&J Landscaping. And he said to cover that area from the bank to mean high water would be about 19 yards. And I know that that is higher than what is normally accepted or recommended for this type of application. So I don't know, we'll have to make do
Well-
and see what happens this first year, I think.
Yeah,
Dave,
so
you
the
said- sorry,
application,
sorry.
the
Dave,
application
you
was
said
submitted.
12.
Yeah, the application was submitted for 12, so I would say this, if this is approved, it should be limited to the 12 yards, because beyond, once you start going too much beyond what would be a small dump truck load, that's a little bit more. And typically those larger scale beach nourishment projects are handled under a notice of intent. So I would say my recommendation would be to approve the 12 yards that was requested, but not more than that.
Okay, Warren, where will you be taking your sand sample from? Up by where the stone is or down onto the beach itself?
Lee Wisha did sieve analysis already, and I have that grain size distribution in front of me now, and I'm getting the sieve analysis from Highway Concrete, which is has a sand that has been used for this.
I'm going to ask, how far from the little stone wall will you be putting this sand toward the water? Don't say mean high water. Give me a hint as to how many feet from that little stone wall.
10 feet.
10
as a
feet.
guess. I don't
So you'll
know.
be covering all the grass and the eelgrass, you'll be covering all the grass that's there. Is that the intent, is to cover the grass?
It's not my intent to cover the grass, but that's what will happen. But I also do know that the roots grow feet underground. So I believe that will grow through that. Most of the grass has been destroyed. The destruction on this little lot is not from wind, which grass is helpful with. This is from wave action from storms, which the grass has proven in this area not to be able to withstand.
Yeah, I must not have been happy with the wind coming where it was yesterday.
No, it looked like a major storm there.
Yep, it not south, what did it come out of southeast? Seemed like an odd direction. Okay, is there anybody on the line that would like to speak to this project?
Hey, Sandy.
We do have somebody that wants to speak on this, so hold on one second.
Ron, did you want to say something?
Yeah, there's also a comment in the chat on this project also.
Oh, I'm glad you're watching that. I'm not. What was
Yeah, I
the
did. I was gonna bring that up as well, but I figured we'd let the speaker speak first.
Yeah, and then we can introduce this question.
Okay.
So Diane, go ahead.
I have a concern and also a question. My
Diane,
concern,
sorry, wait, Diane, wait a second. You'll have to give me your name for the record.
Diane Blondin.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, my concern is that the grass is going to get covered up. The grass is the only thing that holds on the wave action. The wave action can be quite tremendous on a storm, and it's just starting to come back this year, as it does every year. And I think if it's covered, we have a potential problem. I am the abutter. I am one of the abutters, and I pay close attention to what's going on because my property is potentially involved in this. My other comment or question is, do you, Warren, intend to go over into the right-of-way at all? There's a 40-foot right-of-way between the end of his property and the property next door, which is lot 206.
I understand your concerns, Diane, and no, this, I asked if that would be a separate, if anything was to be done there, because somebody else had approached me and said, that 40-foot right of way needs, is getting eroded also and needs beach nourishment, but I understand that that would be a separate filing and was advised by David to do a filing just for my property. And that is what is outlined in the red.
And how are you going to abruptly stop at your property line and not go on to that right away?
I guess the question is, Warren, how do you determine your lot line versus the right of way? other than that pole that has for the beach umbrella?
There is a fence and some trees upland that mark the right of way and lot 205. And I believe, have been told that we can dump the sand because of limit of access to where the coastal bank is eroding on lot 205. The access is limited, so dumping the sand on the right of way and then moving it either by hand or by a small bobcat into place on the coastal bank and beach area.
Oh, it will be by hand. I was going to ask you how you're going to get in there, and I think you've just answered my question. You're going to put it in the right of way, then move it manually into your area for distributing 12 cubic yards.
Yes.
And I have to emphasize again, I'm really concerned that that beach grass that is growing there is not going to come back. And if anything, maybe replenishment of the beach grass.
Is that beach grass or just land grass? I did not identify it as beach grass. Dave, did you?
I think it's more
weeds,
land grass and weeds. There might be some sparse beach grass here and there. But I would say that as long as the grass isn't covered with 12 yards over the span of that particular area is not going to result in the sand being feet deep over that area. It's not going to amount to that much depth, honestly, for the most part. So if the layer was kept thinner on the grass area, then the grass would grow back up through it. And it would be advisable possibly to plant a little bit of beach grass once the sand has been placed, which is only going to help the stability of the sand. But in terms of the placement of the sand, once it's spread out, it's not going to be as thick or deep as what some people might envision it being.
Okay, let me also point out that we're talking mean high water. This area gets repeated tides over it. So whatever type of grass it is, the salt water does not affect it. So in my judgment, it's a good type of grass to have.
Yes, and I would say that's the grass closest to the water. There is some beach grass there, and then as you move further inland, it's more weedy lawn grass, if you will. But there is beach grass closer, but it's not a thick layer of it, if you will.
Would beach grass be the better way to go to nourish this area?
Dave?
If you want to just, that was a different commenter, by the way.
I think that was Heather Grove who had put the question in the chat.
It was, and I'm the other abutter.
Right, so what I would say is the beach,
would seagrass be the better way to hold this area together?
right, I think beach grass is not a bad idea, but it's not going to provide additional sand. So the applicant's request is to be able to place additional sand to account for some of the sand that's been eroded. If the commission wants to see some beach grass planted there after the fact, that's up to the commission. It's obviously a good idea because that is going to help stabilize any material that's placed there. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, is there anybody else who wants to comment?
Good question, Sandy. Oh, are you doing us?
I thought I had been through all you already.
You had, but I have a question since I talked about beach grass.
Okay.
So I'm wondering, we've had a couple of other projects that have had beach grass replanted. And so what we recommended was that they get somebody who is a professional to do it if you wanted it to stay. I think we had several people who tried, even out at Onset Island, beach grass isn't that easy, I guess, to
Well, just to clarify, that was not beach grass, that was marsh grass. And so that's a whole different situation. So,
Is beach grass a good grass to transplant?
beach grass is much more easily planted, and will take much more readily than marsh grass. So, yes.
All right, thank you.
So for the commission, I mean, it's, if you want them to plant beach grass, where on the property? Along the edge of the revetment, in the middle of the land of his beach, or I don't know, where would you like it to be planted?
Where it exists now.
Yeah, but where does it, okay, Denise, where does it exist now? I did not see any when I was out there at low tide.
Or is it along I would assume it's along the water's edge, correct? Is that where beach grass grows?
It's
I did not-
It's on the high tide line, Mark.
The high
I did
tide
not,
line?
I did not see beach grass.
I did not either.
Well, when you were out there, I'm not sure that the grass had come back yet. I do have pictures as of yesterday. It has come back.
He was there Sunday, and there's very little beach grass there. Years ago, there was a lot, but the storms have taken it away. Beach grass was planted over bags, geotextile bags just to the north of this property. And that has all been destroyed, and it is a mess.
Well, one of
But that's because they didn't take care
Oh,
of it.
wait, what? Sorry, one at a time. So you have a comment, Warren, that you had there had been some beach grass planted in the area and it had been destroyed.
Completely destroyed. It looks terrible now.
Okay,
It's a mess.
Diane, were you next?
Yes,
Or was-
so that was a couple of houses away from 206 towards the point, towards the Gleason property. And the reason that it was all professionally done, it was beautiful, there were plantings there, and the property owners were not full-time residents and nobody watered it. And as a result, nothing grew, everything died.
Okay. Is there anybody else commenting on this?
I would agree with Diane's comment that basically why that did not work. It was a really good plan, but they weren't here. They didn't water it. They didn't nurture it to make it work.
Okay, now for the commission, do you want to indicate how many, what do you want to call them, slugs of beach grass you want planted?
I
Or
don't know what that would be, Sandy, so I would not be comfortable telling,
So,
giving an idea.
yeah.
I have no idea.
So Warren, I guess what you're hearing is that put your soil out there would like you not to cover the existing beach grass. You won't go that far because that's on the high water mark, right? So you're not going into beyond the high water mark.
Well, the beach grass would be above the high water mark. Beach grass
Okay.
does not grow in the intertidal
But
area.
honestly,
Right, I don't think there was really much beach grass there that I had seen.
I mean, all I saw were weeds, land grass.
Well, I think if the beach grass would help hold it together and would
Okay,
make the abutters happy, then it should be something that we should consider.
Warren, if I stand on your property and I have Diane's house on the right, you've got two areas close to that rock, that stone embankment. Do you know which two areas I'm talking about? They're pretty stony and they have, they're above. Okay, is there a chance you can put beach grass in those two areas?
Oh,
If you
the
don't-
areas that look like they were washed with waves recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
don't, they're
think
close,
it's a waste of time and money because the next storm is gonna take that away.
okay, because there's a piece of your property that goes up to Diane's that's right now vegetation's in there. It's between her stone wall and never mind. What, Commissioner, what would you like to do? I'm going to ask anybody comment on.
I don't
Well,
know enough about planting beach grass. So,
Does the beach grass help hold everything
So
together?
right now, the only thing that's discussion is the 12 yards of sand to be placed
Right.
on above high water mark and to be thin where there is grass growing. That's all I'm hearing.
I think the beach grass is a long-term plan to save the area, where the sand is a short-term, you add it and ultimately the storms take it away.
And Warren knows that he has no idea how long it will last. So it's 12 yards of sand to be distributed manually by hand and from up to the high water mark. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I still think we should consider this beach grass.
Then
If
what
it'll
would you
help-
say? How
if it
many
would
do we
help-
put in?
Well,
Yeah, I don't know.
So here's my thought on this, and Mr. Warren is understanding that he's spending the money to have the sand put in right now as a temporary fix for however long that might be. It could be 1 season, it could be 2 seasons. None of us know because we don't know we can't predict the weather. So if he's willing to spend the money to do it to get some type of nourishment back, and then do a survey about how much beach grass might be sufficient. I mean, I don't think we can determine that just by talking about the project. I think it needs to be visited and reviewed. So I think for the sake of the project that's before us and requesting the beach nourishment with sand, I think we go forward with that and allow that. And then, with some more time, it can be reviewed to see how much beach grass might be necessary, because we could say, 10 whatevers, and it could take 30. I mean, so we don't know that. And without doing any type of review into it, I think we would just be, frivolously speaking about what is going to work and what's not.
So
Thank you.
what do we think 12 yards of sand is gonna do?
But that's up to, he's understanding that, it's maybe not a permanent solution, but, for the sake of what he's trying to accomplish short term, I don't see an issue with it. Not to say that it's the solution, but right now that's what's brought before us, and that's what I think we should approve and allow him some more time to do a study on how much beach grass should be. I think long term, yes, it's the answer, but for the short term, to get some type of nourishment back to that area, bring in the sand, nourish
Well,
it the
yeah.
best you can with the 12 yards, and then think about the beach grass for a future plan that would be much more long term.
Yeah, because Warren will know when his sand is washed away, and he will take a look at whether or not he feels a beach grass planting would better serve the conservation of his land.
I agree.
Anything else on the line? Because we'd like to close this hearing.
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion to close the hearing and a second. All in favor, Elisa, Ron,
Here, please.
Yes.
Denise, Carol,
Yes.
Kwame, Michael, Sandy. Yes, the hearing is closed.
I move that we approve the project with a -2 determination.
Second.
With a
What-
maximum of 12 yards.
And all distributed by hand.
And that it be limited to 12 yards of sand and it all be distributed by hand.
That's the
Second.
motion. I have a second. All in favor, Elisa,
Yes.
Ron, Denise, Carol, Kwame, Michael, Sandy, done. Please, Warren, don't do anything until you get the paperwork from Mr. Bichette. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022 at 6:30 PM on the notice of intent for Dylan Freitas, care of JC Engineering.
You missed one.
So, yeah,
Okay,
we still got to announce that 72B Burgess Point Road is being is being
We have,
continued.
yeah, we have to open that hearing.
Ryan
Blacko.
Balco.
Yes.
Okay, you want me to start again?
Yes, please.
All right, I will. Town of Wareham. Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held Wednesday, April 20th, 2022 at 6:30 PM on the notice of intent of Ryan Blacko, care of JC Engineering, 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538. To construct a single-family dwelling, garage, and in-ground pool located on Assessor's Map 22, Lot 1006, A2, 72B, Burgess Point Road, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. They've asked for a continuance for a revised plan and updated stakeout for us to look at. So, when's the next hearing, Dave? May
4th.
Would like to take a motion. I'm not going to hear this project because it's going to be continued. So if someone would make a motion to continue until May 4th.
Make a motion to continue until May 4th.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor. Alyssa,
Yes.
Ron, Denise.
Yes.
Carol, Kwame, Michael, Sandy. Continue until, oh, may the 4th be with you. Oh, sorry.
So, let's do it again. Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022 at 6:30 PM on the notice of intent for Dylan Freitas, care of JC Engineering, 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538. To reconstruct a retaining wall and patio located on Assessor's Map 7B-2, Lot 28B and 29, 5 Cleveland Way, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Is there anybody here representing this project?
Yes, Sam Imelli with JC Engineering.
Okay, Mr. Bichette.
Okay. So this project site is at 5 Cleveland Way in the Indian Mountain Beach area. And the project involves the construction of a retaining wall on a coastal bank and within a coastal flood zone. It's proposed to construct a 4-foot high Keystone block retaining wall on the coastal bank and within flood zone VE elevation 21, approximately 5 feet out further onto the coastal bank from where an older existing deteriorating block wall exists, and then backfilling behind the new wall to create more flat yard area. It's then proposed to construct a paver patio over the whole flat area. An underground infiltration system is being proposed to handle runoff from the patio area. Building further out onto the coastal bank and then backfilling and constructing new vertical walls in a velocity zone should not be something that should be allowed. So I would recommend that the new wall be built in the same line or location as the existing retaining wall and not further out onto the coastal bank. Also, there was another existing wall that was reconstructed on this site up closer to the road, but still in the buffer zone to the coastal bank. This is a 9-foot high concrete block wall that supports the parking area for the site. This was not something that the commission reviewed or issued an order of conditions for. So this is sort of an after the fact part of this application where they're looking to approve this as well. And when I was down at the site, the other thing I did notice was there's a section of the beach down in front of this property that has vegetation removed from it. So I just wanted to find out a little bit about that. We did get a DEP file number for this project, but at this time I would recommend the hearing be continued for a revised plan showing the wall in the same location as what currently exists.
Hey, Sam,
Yes.
comments?
I think it was summed up nicely just to speak to Dave's recommendation there about the expansion of the wall. The reason for it, if you look on the plan, you'll notice there's a second story deck with existing deck posts that extend down to the ground. So we're trying to create some separation away from those deck posts, one for construction to avoid any sort of interference. Also to create some usable space between the deck posts and the retaining wall on the patio. As previously mentioned, we are providing drainage, which was not provided existing. And this expansion is, like you said, approximately 5 feet further than the wall, approximately only 3 feet further than the existing concrete steps that are present on the property.
What about the vegetation being removed on the beach?
I can't really speak to that. I was not aware of.
If I can speak to it, I don't know if that's allowed. I'm Dylan. It's my
Okay.
property. So we
Wait a minute,
bought,
Dylan, wait a second.
okay,
Dylan Frates.
Freitas, yes.
Okay, your turn.
Okay. So we bought this house in 2019, and I don't know if anyone's familiar, but it was left to rot for probably 7 or 8 years. And so what was going on there is there was boats left there for that amount of time, like little 17-foot skiffs and stuff. So that led to some of the grass that had died from just being covered by boats for so long. We've kind of stirred the sand around. And in addition to that, I have some pictures of the footings that we were talking about, if that's helpful. But I guess that's up to you guys.
Okay, so Sam, talk to me why you want to move this retaining wall 3 feet from where it is because of the post for the deck. Is that, talk to me again slower.
Sure. If you look on the site plan, we're showing the locations of the existing deck posts that come down from a second story deck. And right now they're only maybe a foot away from the existing retaining wall. So we want to pull that retaining wall away from those posts. One, to help during construction, so there's no sort of interference with those existing deck posts. Also to create usable space on the patio between those posts and the edge of the retaining wall. Replacing it in the same footprint would only give maybe 2 feet away from that post there. Not very usable space in that section there.
Are
So
the
Sandy, if I could just quickly follow up with that. So, in terms of the regulations, it's not the concern of what usable space somebody has or doesn't have. It's for building onto resource areas. So I get the point of what they have an interest of doing, but that doesn't necessarily match up with what the commission is supposed to be looking at.
But I'm not too, how secure are those posts holding up that porch? It looks like you got 3 A-framed holding it up. I mean, is it something that the posts are going to have to be replaced, or are you just supporting the deck using additional devices? But Dave's right. I mean, the expansion into our coastal bank, just to make construction of the wall easier, is not part of the wetland bylaws. But I will ask the commissions for their questions, starting with Elisa.
No, I concur with what Dave is talking about. The fact that We are a conservation commission and not builders.
Yep, Ron,
I mean, you know, I agree, you know, about it, but I mean, I guess one of my questions is, so you propose to move this wall out 5 feet. How much fill are you gonna have to bring in to, you know, accomplish that 5-foot expansion all the way across the property?
Total, we estimate about 40 yards of fill to accomplish this project.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna sound like a broken record with everyone else, but you know, the concern is we're encroaching further and further into the resource area. And I don't necessarily think that's something that, you know, if we approved it, it wouldn't look good on what we're trying to do from a conservation standpoint. So that's just my biggest concern there, is making a move that I understand what you would try to accomplish with it, but it wouldn't really justify, in my opinion, a decision for the commission to make to change the resource area at all.
hey Denise,
I definitely want to see that moved back. I don't want it expanded, but I also wanted to ask what was going to be put underneath the deck that's above. What is creating the patio?
The patio will be constructed of Keystone pavers.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Keystone
Thank you.
pavers for patio construction.
Keystone pavers?
that's on the ground.
Right,
not-
but that's what I want to know, if that, what was going on down underneath. And is the landing by the side door being addressed in any of this? Because that's really hazardous over there. There's a side door coming out. and
Yep.
The whole
There's
area.
currently a concrete pad there that's proposed to be removed and replaced with Keystone patio pavers. There will be a few steps up leading to that and door entrance there on the side.
Okay. And again, I really think that it needs to be pulled back and not move forward. Thank you.
Carol,
No, they've covered everything. Thank you.
Kwame,
I agree with Dave's recommendation at this time. Thanks.
Michael,
I so far agree with the rest of the board. Agree with everybody else. Shouldn't be allowing the wall to be built out into the beach area. I do have one question though. There seem to be 3 stakes. Excuse me. There was one that indicated where the wall would be built out into the beach. There's another one that indicated where those hay bales were, but there was another one way out into the ocean. I think it mentions it there on way out in the map that, or in this graph here that Dave has pulled up. Does that indicate anything by any chance or not?
No, that's just a point used for survey purposes, but it doesn't indicate any sort of work with this project.
Okay, thank you.
okay. The Keystone retaining wall, if you place the top of it where the existing concrete wall is, how much further will the base have to be into the lawn? I guess it's too, Dave, do you have, move it over to the description of the standard retaining wall. Nope, up high, up. That's it. You crossed it. There you go. I can't read it. What is the width of that lower supporting being of that retaining wall? I mean, if the top of the never mind, it tells me is that 16 inches out?
It's not really far. It's not a huge width. The blocks step back, you know, an inch or 2 for each block, and there's only maybe 4 or 5 courses. So you're not.
So it'll
talking
just
about
be a
huge-
small infringement into the existing lawn in order to make the top of this wall match the existing wall.
Yeah, and you know, you'd have to build any kind of a wall, you'd have to do some sort of a footing, so that would happen anyway. So I think that wouldn't be a big problem.
Okay. I have a question for Dylan. Dylan, when you bought this house, did this crushed driveway already exist?
So there was, essentially, it was a dirt driveway, just kind of general dirt, and we brought in, the person who did the wall brought in bluestone, like 3/8 bluestone, so it went from dirt to gravel, I guess.
Did the wall that's retaining that gravel exist, or did you have to create it?
There was one there.
There was one there, okay.
Yeah.
So we are going to continue this, I understand. Is there anybody on the line that would like to talk to this project? I'm hearing none. We're
Move
going to
to
have a continue until May the 4th. Is that the motion?
Yes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, Alyssa, Ron,
Yes.
Denise, Carol, Kwame,
Yes.
Michael, Sandy, we're continuing until May the 4th be with you. I have to stop
Thank you.
that. I'm sorry.
Okay, I have a public hearing for Mr. Green, which has been continued. Is that correct?
They wish to be continued, but you have to read the hearing, then we can make a motion to continue.
Billy. Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. on the notice of intent for Scott Green, care of JC Engineering, Inc., 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538, to construct a single-family dwelling, retaining walls, and utilities located on Assessor's Map 50B, Lot 41, 17 Murphy Street, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. They have requested a continuance.
I move to continue.
Second.
I have a motion to continue until May 4th and a second. All in favor, Alyssa,
Yes,
Ron,
ma'am.
Yes.
Denise, Carol, Kwame, Michael, Sandy, we're
Absolutely.
continued.
All
Okay,
right.
next one, please.
I have Mr. Paroli next. Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. on the notice of intent for Robert Piroli, care of GAF Engineering, Inc., 266 Main Street, Wareham, Massachusetts, 02571, to construct a pier, ramp, and float system and a boat lift located on Assessor's Map 51, Lot 8, 278 Cremesa Road, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Is there anybody here representing this project, please?
I'm Bill Madden, GAF Engineering, here on behalf of Robert Paroli.
Thank you, Bill. Mr. Bichette, your turn.
Yes, so this project site is at 278 Cremesa Road, and the project involves the construction of a pier, ramp and float system, and a boat lift within land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, and within a coastal flood zone. The site is also within the estimated habitat of rare and endangered species. 240-foot pier, ramp, and float system is proposed out into Buzzards Bay. The structure would be partially on land, and the structure would be 198 feet out from the mean high water. The structure would require installing 37 12-inch diameter greenheart pilings. Part of the structure would cross a salt marsh, and it is proposed to span the width of the salt marsh, which is approximately 32 feet, so that there would not be any pilings in the marsh itself. I did have a question about how would the near shore piling work be done. The proposed 10 by 18 foot float would be on one side of the pier, and a boat lift would be located on the south side of the pier. There was not an eelgrass survey submitted, though the engineer did state that there was no eelgrass in the area. The bylaw does speak to having an eelgrass survey done for new projects. Comments were received from the Mass Division of Marine Fisheries, recommending that the height of the deck of the pier be higher than what was originally proposed over the marsh. We did get a revised plan submitted, which does show the pier height to meet that recommendation. We have not received any comments from Mass Natural Heritage at this time. We did get a DEP file number. So, but at this time, I would recommend a continuance of the hearing for the comments from Natural Heritage and for an eelgrass survey.
Mr. Madden, your turn.
Yep. Dave summarized the project fairly well. You know, it is a proposed new pier, approximately 30 new green heart pilings installed. We are proposing to span the salt marsh that exists out there, and also put open grading as well over that portion of the site. The activities to drive the piles, the inlandmost piles on the, let's call it on the west side of the salt marsh, those will be driven from land. You know, using the same type of equipment. If mats are needed for an excavator with a driving head on it to be pushed out there, that should be that will be done. There's 6 piles that are shown there, and you know, we expect that to go relatively quickly. As far as the installation goes, the remainder of the work will be conducted from a barge on the water side of the project. You can see that we did go to the extent of locating all those boulders that are out there that are shown on the plan. It's a little rocky. There are quite a few. We did survey the complete area in a manner that we always do for each dock project we present to the town. The bylaw doesn't have any detail on it other than it does say that an eelgrass survey shall be done. So when we were in the process of locating the rocks to avoid them, we also canvassed the area for survey for eelgrass in a manner that would be set up as a grid. We located all the boulders using our GPS unit on the site. We would have located eelgrass in the same manner if there was any encountered. There's also a document that's been prepared by the US EPA. It's entitled Eelgrass and Buzzards Bay. Dr. Joe Costa did that, wrote that document some time ago. I believe it was the late 80s. That area was never really had a much eelgrass in it. Not to say that it can't find its way back into a particular area, but typically since that wasting disease wiped out the eelgrass beds in the early 1930s, you know, they really have not seen a tremendous resurgence of the eelgrass within Buzzards Bay. Some has come back, other hasn't. But you know, I assure you that we scoured that entire area. We looked for eelgrass. We looked to see if we could find it, and we found none. And I noted that on the drawing, and I certified that there was none in there, and I stand by that certification. You know, and I think that just as a side note, if you desire a specific methodology to be employed when one goes out there to conduct an eelgrass survey, perhaps an amendment to the bylaw, you know, stating the methodology that's desired could be done. I reviewed another eelgrass survey just today. And, you know, yeah, if I could drift with a kayak and write it that way, and with a viewing box and an underground camera and blah, 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 but you know, the end result is the same. We looked for it. We didn't find any out there, and the plan reflects the findings that we had. We're also proposing basically a 180 square foot float on the north side of the fixed pier portion. On the south side, an electric boat lift is also shown. The 4-foot wide fixed pier will be provided with water and electric service, electric to run the boat lift and to provide some power for use on the float, as well as domestic water for just wash down purposes and things of that nature. But other than that, it's relatively straightforward pier project. We also note on this plan a proposed existing float. We'll talk about that at the next hearing, I think, when we the next scheduled hearing tonight. And we note that that's 34 feet away from our float. According to Army Corps of Engineer regulations, anytime we're within 25 feet of a property line, which we are very, very close, we would need to have some agreement between the abutter that there's no problem with our structure located there. We've been advised by both parties that that is the case. And when we hopefully advance forward with the Army Corps permit, we'll be indicating that information as well. So essentially, that's what we have, fixed pier, gangway, float, and boat lift project, subject to the commission's review. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hey, Lisa?
Well, it's just beyond me. It's huge. It's probably going to look lovely. I'm wondering, do we have staircases for people who might walk along the beach and need to get around this length of dock?
There's 6 feet of lateral clearance under the bottom of the stringer that's located, 32, 33 feet from the shoreline. That provides lateral access within the intertidal zone. There's not a necessity to provide any stairs or anything to go up and around where we have over 5 feet clearance.
Thank you.
Ron?
No questions. I know it's going to be continued, so if I think of anything for the next meeting, then I'll bring it up.
Yeah, next meeting. Okay, Denise?
When is an eelgrass study supposed to be done, Dave?
Yeah, so the time frame is between July and November 15th, I believe, is the official time frame.
Okay, and that has not been done, correct?
It has been done, and it was done on November 9th of 2020, excuse me.
Dave?
Yeah, so I understand the engineer did look at things out there, but typically what we do get is some sort of a report that states the methodology of how the review was done, the date, the conditions when it was done, and so forth. So we didn't what I would consider an eelgrass survey.
Okay.
So I would just make that comment to the commission.
Okay, also, I want to note that this is another shoreline with active recreational use and shellfishing. There's a dock to the right of it, and a dock to the left of it. And I believe we need to look at the cumulative impact in this area also. And we can address other things, I guess, on the continuance.
Okay, Carol?
No questions at this time.
Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
Michael?
Yeah, be continued, so I'll wait. Thank you.
I was disappointed that the pier was not identified as the starting point on the land, nor was there any indication as to how far out 198 feet into the water would be an indicator how, I guess I got spoiled. Do we get anything from the Department of Natural Resources on this?
No, we did not. I can request them to give it a look. We did get comments from Division of Marine Fisheries, as I said, and they did not have any recommendations other than to raise the height of the deck of the pier, which has been shown on the plan.
That's very nice, but Gary knows the land.
Right.
I would like to have something from Mr. Buckminster on this, please.
Yes.
Is there anybody on the line that would like to talk to this project? We are going to be continuing it.
Motion to continue the hearing to May 4th?
I have a motion and a second to continue to May 4th. All in favor, Alyssa, Ron, Denise,
Yes.
Carol, Kwame, Michael, Sandy, we are continued.
Okay. We're up to number 10. Notice, and that's Joseph Barbosa. Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. on the notice of intent for Joseph Barbosa, care of GAF Engineering, Inc., 266 Main Street, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to construct a pier, ramp, and float system and a boat lift located on Assessor's Map 51, Lot 9, 274 Cremesa Road, Wareham, Mass.
Is there anybody here representing this project, Mr. Madden?
That would be me, Bill Madden, GAF Engineering, on behalf of Joseph and Brenda Barbosa.
Thank you. Mr. Bichette?
So this is the next property over from the one we just reviewed. This is 274 Cremesa Road. And this project involves the construction of a walkway across an existing stone groin to a proposed pier, ramp, and float system, and a boat lift, again, within land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, and within a coastal flood zone. And again, the site is also within the estimated habitat of rare and endangered species. The structure would extend out approximately 199 feet into Buzzards Bay from the mean high water line, but a large portion of the structure is on the existing stone groin. A walkway would be built on top of the stone groin to get out to the end to the remaining 73-foot pier, ramp, and float. The plan shows a 10 by 18-foot float on the south side of the pier and a boat lift with a catwalk around it on the north side of the pier. I would recommend the removal of the catwalk structure, as this would require additional pilings and would occupy more of the water sheet area and isn't really a necessary feature as far as I'm concerned in terms of water dependent. The proposed structure would require installing 30 12-inch diameter greenheart pilings as shown. The number of pilings would be reduced if the catwalk was not included. Pilings would be installed using a floating barge. The same situation exists with this project as the last one in terms of we have not received any comments from Mass Natural Heritage, and the eelgrass survey issue is the same. We also did get comments from Mass Division of Marine Fisheries on this project, and they had no recommendations or comments for this particular project. We also did not receive a DEP file number on this particular project. So I would recommend the hearing be continued for the several reasons that I mentioned.
Bill?
Just a couple of things. The wooden walkway on top of the groin, that is existing, that currently exists on top of that. So what we're really doing is we're adding on to the end of that, and we're extending it out approximately 84 feet in total to the from the end of the walkway on the groin to the end of the float and the fixed pier portion. It's 73 feet additional work in the water in that area. Similar to the last project, we did do the eelgrass survey on November 9th of 2020. What I will do for this project and the last one we spoke about, I will go to our field book where we have all the pertinent information. I'll write a report and go through the way that work was done, and I'll provide that to the commission for the next hearing. The catwalk or the walkway that goes around the float, that's regardless of what one might think, it is water dependent. It does serve that boat lift and is categorized as a water dependent structure. Would have to be to pass muster at Chapter 91, and it's there for the safety of people in this particular instance, so that they can walk on both sides of things. It's common in other places. It's not as common around here in the Northeast, but I understand the comment that was made relative to that. And additionally, I think we're going to have the water and the electricity as well in order to operate the lift. So other than that, I think it's pretty much very similar to the other one. The gangway goes down to a float that's 180 square feet. I think we can go up to 300, but there's really, I don't think the need to have a float that large with what we have on this particular site. As far as lateral access goes, the lateral access is existing over the existing groin. I think that as it's noted on the plan that we're adding lateral access signage. It's right there by the existing Rosa Rugosa, and that needs to be provided per Chapter 91 Chapter 91 requirements. So we've indicated where that access is going to be. It's kind of flat through, I shouldn't say flat, but it's not too steep for someone to find their way up and over that wall and down on the other side. So that's what the lateral access provision is for on this one. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, Elisa,
I don't, Sandy. Thank you.
Ron,
No questions?
Denise.
When I was out to look at this, it looked like a little more than just a path on that jetty or whatever that is. There's like a hoist or something on the left side of it, and then there's a gangplank going down that side. Is that going to be removed, or is that staying? What's going on with that?
I'm trying to see where you're talking about.
It says existing hoist.
Right at the base, the land base.
Nope, higher, Dave. Up, there you go.
I believe it was intended to have that remain. I don't have a just defined answer for that, but we don't show it to be removed, so I think it's to remain.
Okay, and there was like a gangplank coming down right near that also, going down to the beach and the water area. Is that remaining? It was a metal structure.
Yeah, I would expect I think that's what they use for access to get to the beach down there from the concrete elevated above. I think that's like elevation 6 or so, 5.75, and we got to get down about 3 or 4 feet. So I believe they walk down on that gangway.
Now, if they go, if you walk all the way to the very end of this existing, whatever you want to call it, it looked like a dock to me. There was a gigantic chunk of cement just sitting there in the water. Is that staying, or is that going to get removed? What is that about? It's just a big hunk of concrete.
I would have to look into that. I don't have an answer for you on there. If it's something that's of no use to the facility, and when we're building this thing out there, it could be removed. I'll check with the client and see what the intent is there. I'm not certain.
And then when I was looking, there was like an orange thing floating out in the water. Was that marking where this was going to end? Because
it may be. We didn't put it out there. We don't have our boat ready just yet. I think I'll have those floats out there for the next meeting.
Okay,
Denise, I
Denise.
thought that was just a mooring.
I wasn't quite sure because if that's a marker, then this actually is entering into the mooring area. And,
No, with the float on it, it's a mooring for a boat.
yeah, it was bright orange. It was just unusual shape.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then I would like to see how this affects the different moorings and stuff in the area. And again, this would be the third dock, like within this little area, but okay. We're gonna continue anyway. I'll discuss it
Yeah.
then.
Yes, and of course, Mr. Buckminster, please, Dave, reach out to him. I'd like to have his comments on it. But that piece of concrete, I thought it was at the end of the patio, which means it could very well be part of the existing stone groin.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah,
There's a giant chunk
maybe
out there.
maybe the patio stopped before the end of the stone walkway. Okay, it's going to be continued. Is there anybody on the line who wants to comment on this project?
Motion to continue to May 4th.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor? Lisa, Ron,
Yes.
Denise, Carol, Kwame,
Yes.
Michael, Sandy, we are continued. Next
Thank you
one.
very much.
Yes. Number 11. Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held on Wednesday, April 20th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. on the notice of intent for TJP Realty LLC, care of Cape and Islands Engineering, Inc., 800 Falmouth Road, Mashpee, Massachusetts, 02649. 2, reconstruct and pave a portion of Over Jordan Road located on Assessors Map 20, Lot 0. Over Jordan Road, Wareham, Mass.
Anybody here representing this project, please?
Yes, good evening, Mark Dibb with Cape and Island Engineering representing TJP Realty.
Thank you. Dave?
Yes, so this project site is at Over Jordan Road, and the project involves paving the road and the installation of stormwater structures within a coastal flood zone and in the buffer zone to a coastal bank. The existing gravel road, which is Over Jordan Road, is to be paved for a majority of its length from Great Neck Road just before you start getting to the end of the road where the causeway is. The majority of the site is within the coastal flood zone, a velocity flood zone, VE elevation 17, with a small portion closest to Great Neck Road being in flood zone AE elevation 15. It's proposed to have an 18-foot wide paved road. So the existing gravel width would be widened slightly to achieve the 18-foot width. Stormwater structures would include a combination of gravel drainage swales and rain gardens to handle runoff from the proposed paved road. DEP did comment on the project and stated that the stormwater checklist would have to be submitted, filled out and submitted for the project. That was not included with the notice of intent. The proposed rain gardens and road paving at the end of the road would be within the buffer zone to the coastal bank. We did not receive a DEP file number at this time. So at this point, I would recommend a continuance for the required information regarding the stormwater checklist and also to wait for the DEP file number.
Thank you, Mark. Anything to add?
Yes, I would just like to go quickly through the project. The plan in front of you, the portion of the roadway at the top of the page is the start at Great Neck Road. You'll see the tannish, I guess, color is the existing gravel, and the gray areas would be the of where widening would need to be 18 feet wide. And again, Dave represented it pretty clearly. This first portion, what you see, that first plan area goes about 450 feet, and that is all within floodplain, but not within any of other buffers. And the intent behind the drainage is to protect any neighboring properties that are existing. You'll see there's 2 existing driveways on this plan with drainage swales to make sure runoff is properly directed away from those properties as well. If you've been to the site, it's very flat throughout this entire area. It's about 3 feet of change as the plan progresses. That second plan on the first sheet was again all within floodplain. And so after about 1,300 feet down the road is where we start to get into the buffers to the salt marsh. And as you get closer to the causeway, and in this area, the intention with the drainage is to fully meet like water quality standards, providing the rain gardens. One thing we can't do and don't really want to do is any kind of catch basin system, because the road is very flat. We don't want to disrupt anything more than we have to by regrading to make slopes work to catch basins. We're really trying to provide a country type drainage for the critical areas on site. This is just a private landowner trying to increase safety and comfort driving this road. There's portions of it right now where you cannot pass 2 cars, but it is a widening of in the range of, there's actually a couple spots where we're actually going to narrow the gravel with pavement, but it varies, from a 2-foot widening to I think 4 feet at the max. We're basically just proposing to pave the road, and as noted, DEP has requested a stormwater checklist. We're treating this project as a mix of new construction and redevelopment. The new construction area specifically being more in the buffer zones, the more critical areas up close to the water. We're providing far more treatment and management of the runoff. Otherwise, we're just trying to protect the neighboring properties. Calculation wise, this road has been there for a very long time, and typical standards is to consider what is there as pretty much impervious. So we do need to account for where we're widening. We've documented that and provided appropriate swales and slopes. But again, as Dave mentioned, we do need to submit that checklist, and we don't have a number. So I would like any input from the commission at this time. If there's any questions, that we could incorporate those as we get back in a few weeks.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Alyssa?
I have several questions. First of all, I want to thank you for putting up stakes. Nobody else did this week, and we accepted them nonetheless. And it was good to see them. I would like to ask a couple of questions. One, I think that I'm really not in favor of putting quite so much pavement down. The road has been there a long time, as you said, and I know that's the private person who does it. I also have a question that just prior to the first bit to the big house, we have a asphalt, which is pretty wide and perpendicular, and it actually goes over to both houses on the right side of the road as you're heading toward the water. And I don't ever remember those coming up before us. Perhaps they did, and I don't have a good memory. And I would like to know, how do your rain gardens work, and what is the maintenance on them?
Okay. Stakes, yes, we staked it, as per your recommendations. The driveway that would be on the right as you're going towards the water, was approved as part of those new houses in that area. I don't have the exact DEP number,
Okay.
but those driveways were approved. And the rain gardens, there is a detail. There will be the light green you see on the plan will be swales that will direct the runoff from areas in those buffers towards the rain gardens. They will consist of a soil media that is approximately 2.5 feet thick that provides the filtering of the stormwater runoff and treatment. It'll have a grass base, and those will, when we provide the updated stormwater checklist, there will be a operation and maintenance plan that will outline the maintenance. It's basically inspection, make sure there's not sediment washing into them or any kind of debris. You just hand rake things out, but that'll all be outlined in an operation and maintenance
Great.
plan.
Thank you.
Ron,
The only question I had was, and maybe it was said and I missed it, but what is the overall length of the road?
The improvement is, you'll see on this page, there's a stationing of 14 plus 00. That means 1400, so 1400 linear feet. Actually, it ends at 1422, so 1422 linear feet.
And then 30 feet wide?
18 total width.
18,
So
okay, I was looking at a different number. Okay, so 18. Yeah, I mean, it's quite a big, it's not a small driveway. Now, what is, so for all of these other houses that are on the road here, are they going to, is part of the project going to be to tie in all of those, whatever type of driveways they are, so that the neighbors have a smooth transition from whatever their driveway might be to the road?
I hadn't shown any, like, I think you're just like an apron for those driveways. Like on this sheet you're looking at, the dotted lines are orders of conditions and DEP numbers that were approved in the past, and they're still valid. I don't think we want to introduce aprons. I think we would want to leave in case, they're not built yet. So if it could that driveway location where the cursor is right now shift a couple feet for some reason and they get an amended order, that's possible. I think I would, and maybe those driveways might even be gravel or something like that. So I would hesitate to install aprons at, I think there's really only 3 properties. There's 2 on this sheet, and the one to the left, I believe, is another one. So there is 3
Okay.
driveways, but
Further on.
Dave, will you bring up the one in Great Neck so I can see how they're going to handle England?
And there are people who live beyond this development.
I was going to ask in my questions, for those who live at the cul-de-sac.
Wait. We're going to do this one first. The question was asked, how are they going to handle the access to the driveways that exist now? And the England property is the one on Great Neck. So can we finish answering that one? Then we'll talk about the people that end out on the island. Okay.
Yes, okay, those existing driveways, I think it would be appropriate to show that a saw cut and a new apron for those 2 existing driveways. So I will plan to add that.
Okay. Thank you. I think that was, I was more concerned about the existing homes as opposed to the ones you're being planned, but that was your question.
Correct.
Okay, Ron, anything else?
No, those are the only questions that I have right now.
Okay, Denise?
I wanted to find out, there's some trees running along the right side as you go in. Are we gonna lose those trees?
Oh, they're the inside between the stake and the road. I expect them all down.
They're gonna be down. And
So
then there's a bunch of fire hydrants all along there that are on the other side of the stakes. What happens to those?
those,
Yeah.
we will, they're not shown.
Yeah,
near
they're
the-
not shown and your
Yep.
trees are not shown, which makes me unhappy too. So Denise, thank you for bringing up both of those.
Thank you.
We can add those hydrants and trees and address that as we add them.
Yep, I want every tree identified on there because I'm going to ask you to do me a free planting when you take them down. But that's my question. Denise, anything else?
Not right now. I'll wait till next week, but I would like to thank you for the detailed staking also. I was impressed.
Carol,
No questions at this time.
Kwame,
No, Denise targeted the questions. Thank you.
Michael,
Denise targeted one of them, so thank you very much. Where do we plan on storing the construction equipment to do all this? You know yet?
I will identify areas. We have the entire right side of this roadway, actually the entire length on the right side is property. We can store equipment. I will identify an area. It'll be outside of any buffer zones. The entire area is within the floodplain, so it will be somewhere in the floodplain, but we can identify some staging areas for the
And
work.
finally, this may be more of a planning question, I'm not sure, but if there are residents of this neighborhood, especially those who live maybe down at the end of the cul-de-sac, how are they going to get in and out during the construction process? Because this is a very thin road here. It's not a very wide road where people can get in and out fairly easy, no?
Correct. We can provide a traffic management plan for during construction. I think at this width, we would use paving that would, I believe you would do 9 feet one way, 9 feet the other way. We could provide access, but we can definitely identify a traffic management plan for the users.
Thank you.
okay. My question was, I believe it was answered. The rain garden and maintenance is going to be covered. The 2 hydrants will be looked at because they're going to have to be moved, and the tree removal. I'd like to have the trees identified, which ones would be removed, because I'd like to have things planted in its place. If you're going to take down a cedar, I want another one planted. But that's me. When do you expect this work to start? Summer, spring, fall?
We were hoping for late May, but we shall see as long if we can get the appropriate approvals. So spring, at this point, it would be late spring.
Now, I know it's outside of our preview, but the nice little stone on the right, you're gonna have to take that stone pylon and move it over.
Correct, yes, that's shown on plan. There's going to be every effort possible to reconstruct it as it exists, in the
Okay.
new location.
Because I wanted to make sure it looks like the other one.
Correct.
If you're gonna put mortar on it, don't use yellow. Anyway, so gonna start as soon as you can, hopefully late spring, early summer. I honestly want this whole thing to be impervious. And then by making this whole 1,400 feet impervious, pervious. I want it pervious.
Right.
And I want a maintenance plan for maintaining its ability to absorb water. That's what I'd like to see. I don't want to see this all paved.
No.
Well, paved over a parking lot. I mean, we all
Right.
remember that song. So I know it is extremely expensive by putting in pervious paved asphalt, but that's what I want. Then I want a plan for maintaining its ability to be pervious. That's me. But is there anybody online that'd like to speak to this project? Because it will be continued.
Motion to continue to May 4th.
Second.
I have a motion. Mark, May 4th, good?
Yes.
Okay. I have a motion, a second to continue until the 4th of May. All in favor? Elisa, Ron,
Yeah.
Denise, Carol,
Yes.
Tommy, Michael,
Yes.
Sandy, yes. Dave, has Mr. Lockwood joined us?
No, I do not see Mr. Lockwood on the line.
Hello?
Sorry, is there anybody here for the Capriccio proper hearing?
Did you, is there somebody that just came on that I believe might have a question? I phoned Steve. Is that, did you have a question?
I was just wondering how things are going. I just got back and I forgot to bring my phone with me while I was gone, so I didn't know if we were all set or
Which project are you here for?
the 27 Agawam Lakeshore Drive.
Yeah, we
Continue
haven't,
it.
we haven't
We
taken that
haven't
up
come
yet.
up with it yet.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I would take a motion to untable Capriccio and then a motion to continue.
Motion to
So we need to
untable
have-
Capriccio.
I have that motion, I have a second, all in favor, Alyssa, Ron, Denise, Carol, Tommy, Michael,
Yes.
Sandy, so it's untabled.
Motion to
Um,
continue Capriccio.
No,
to-
Elisa,
No?
will you please
Oh.
read it into the,
Oh, sorry.
into the record, then we can, then we can continue, yes.
So we read it into the record saying. You want me to read in, Sandy?
Yes. A request for determination of applicability for Faith and James Capriccio, care of Lockwood Architects, P.O. Box 95, Onset, Mass. 02558, to install a paved driveway located on the Assessor's map 120 lot 79, 1000, 1001, 5 Albacross Avenue. That's the hearing.
Thank you so much.
I move that we continue the hearing until May 4th, 2022.
That is the motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, Alyssa, Ron, Denise,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
Michael, and
Yes.
Sandy. We are now into continued public hearings. We have a continued hearing for David and Susan Broderick at 13 Widows Cove Lane. Is there anybody here representing that project? I think Sam's back, right?
Yes, Sam with JC Engineering.
Thank you. We have a new plan. Mr. Bichette?
Yes, I'm just pulling that up now.
While he's pulling it up, I went down there the day after a major rainstorm. And yes, there was puddle in the cul-de-sac, but that runoff did not come from this property we're talking about. It's coming from the property that had the paved driveway. All the driveways in this area are either crushed stone or blocked. So there was only one paved driveway, and that was the neighbor. Anyway, okay, Dave, your turn.
Okay, so this project site is at 13 Widows Cove Lane. And the project involves the construction of a single-family dwelling, driveway, grading, and septic system on this property with a new well as well. At the last meeting, we had continued this hearing because there was some discussion or concerns about runoff from the proposed construction. We have received a revised plan which proposes a gravel driveway instead of a paved driveway. And also dry wells proposed to handle roof runoff from the dwelling. So in terms of any runoff issues, I think those, in my opinion, are now addressed by this plan revision. So I would recommend the approval of the project with a negative determination number 2 based on the revised plan.
Thank you. Sam, anything to add?
No, that was summed up nicely. No further comment.
Okay, questions on the commission? Elisa,
No, thank you.
Ron,
No, thank you.
Denise?
I just wanted to make one comment about this. At the last meeting, there was a question concerning the easement that is running through the property. I just want to make sure that everybody realizes it's a deeded right of way. It is not a drainage easement as it was.
Right, right. And
presented.
the other thing to be conscious of is that is not on this lot. There is no easement on this particular lot.
Correct. But it's deeded to this lot so that they can go through that easement to get to the beach.
Right, but that has nothing to do with this construction project.
Correct. But I
Yeah.
just wanted to make it clear that it was not a drainage easement as it was presented.
Thank you. Carol,
No questions.
Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Michael.
Just one quick question here. I see a proposed tree line here at the bottom in green. If I follow that along the line, I see it gets to the above, it says existing tree line. Is that going to be the same just by any chance?
So yeah, if you follow the proposed tree line around, that would be the limit of clearing for this project, which would tie back into where the existing tree line kind of.
There's like a little short woodsy area around there. All right. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anybody online that would like to comment on this project?
Madam Chairman, this is Jeff Johnson again. I think you're talking about my paved driveway. I'm
Yes,
across the
I am.
street.
Yes, I am.
So just a quick thing there, and I appreciate the committee's look on this, and also from the engineering there to make the suggested changes with regards to the driveway and also the dry well. I would contradict the fact that the puddling is coming from my driveway, only because, and I'd be happy to show a picture. I took a picture from the other day. If you look, the puddling actually begins on the other side of the cul-de-sac.
I will say that after the rainstorm, I could see while water was running off your driveway because of how it disturbed the soil going down to this easement. So if it meant, if I said it came off your driveway, there's other contributors to it, but your dog did not like my walking.
I apologize for that.
Well,
we've got a newborn in the house and he's grown very protective, so I apologize.
oh, I gather that, and I held my arms very close to me and I told him I was friendly. So yes, but yes, I noticed the water puddled, and I also noticed because the amount of leaves on the bottom of the cul-de-sac, the water didn't have a chance to drain.
And I've since cleared those, so I apologize.
Okay.
As you probably saw, I'm doing a fair amount of work in landscaping and making and beautifying my area there.
Okay. Yeah.
The only thing that I would say there is, and as you mentioned in a prior subject property, I think it was the first one with the driveway there, having those additional trees definitely helps. If you look at the drawing here, he's going from elevation of approximately 17 feet to the middle of the cul-de-sac, which is 13 feet in that angle towards where the puddling occurs. So there's definitely some, you know what I mean? There's definitely the movement of water that is going to go in that direction. I guess the only thing that I would ask, and that I'd love to have the group consider, is that proposed tree line. Now that whole lot is wooded. If we could maybe even extend that proposed tree line up towards where, if you're looking at it, where you see the L153 there, where it's showing the radius, I believe, and the length of the cul-de-sac. Just some added protection in there. It's not going to disrupt the view, as there's nothing over there to see. There's not going to be any interference with regards to, I can't really imagine anything over there, and it would allow for some plantings, the trees and the things of that nature that are over there to at least, again, contribute to some of the, or reduce the movement of water.
Well, you'll find that
In its
probably
worst vicinity.
a grass lawn.
I'm sorry, Sandy, go ahead.
A grass lawn does a very good job of absorbing water runoff. There could very well be some issues with the clearing of the trees further from the house, because I'm finding more and more insurance companies insist on having an X amount of feet between the house and trees. So probably that adds to the tree line. But Michael, your question.
I was gonna say, at the very, very end of that cul-de-sac, there's not really much left though. You got basically what, a fence, you got grass, you've got So I'm not sure what else he really means though. And then that tree line begins at the other end of the house. It runs behind, there's a wooded area. And on the left side of the house, though, there's going to be another house though, correct?
Well, no, the other side of there's a house already there on lot
Correct.
20 on map, yeah.
So I'm not sure what Jeff means though by what else we could really do though.
No, I was just, I mean, if that's going to be aligned in the committees, I'm certainly not an engineer. Like I said, it's just anything that's changing the status quo. I just want to make sure we don't make a situation that is already bad worse. I guess that would be my final statement.
So your concern is by cutting back the trees, we will increase the water flow off the property. And I'm suggesting that a lawn will take care of that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, committee.
Anybody else would like to speak to this project?
Motion to
Hearing
close.
none. I have a motion to close.
Second.
I have a second. Alyssa, Ron, Denise, Carol, Kwame, Michael, Sandy. The hearing is closed. We want a -2.
I move that we approve this project with a -2 determination.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second for -2. All in favor, Alyssa, Ron, Denise,
Yes.
Carol, Kwame, Michael, Sandy. Okay, before you start any work, please see Mr. Bichette for Sam for the paperwork, okay?
Will do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next hearing is Stephen King, 27 Agawam Lakeshore Drive. Is there anybody here representing that project?
Yes, good evening, members of the commission. Brad Holmes with ECR representing this project.
Okay. Mr. Bichette?
Okay, so this project involves the construction or installation of a dock within land under a water body and within a bordering vegetated wetland. A 4x28-foot portable aluminum dock is proposed at this location in the Agawam Mill Pond. The proposed dock would be in 2 sections and would be on wheels so that it could be rolled out of the water seasonally. The dock would be installed and removed by hand. At the last meeting, we had continued the hearing for a few reasons. One of which was there was some disturbed bordering vegetated wetland at the site that we wanted to have restored or replanted. So this revised plan that we have does show a restoration of that altered area. Also, there was some discussion of some other features, including the walkway and the fire pit that might have been within the 30-foot no activity zone. It looks like those features are just outside the 30-foot no activity zone, but are in the buffer zone. So those are being requested to be approved sort of after the fact as part of this application. And we also wanted to get a location shown where the dock was going to be stored during the off-season that was outside the 30-foot no activity zone. And again, that is now represented on the plan. So I would recommend that the proposal be approved based on the revised plan with the standard conditions and the added conditions that the dock be stored outside the 30-foot no activity zone during the off-season, and that the disturbed bordering vegetated wetland be restored according to the plan submitted.
David, I never got that, what you're showing here. Did anybody else?
No.
You never got that?
No.
I thought I sent that out a while ago. But there's a million plans for this meeting, but I thought that had been sent out. But in any event, this is the revised plan.
Okay. Brad, right? Did you have any, or
No, thank you, members of the commission. We presented this previously at a meeting, we continued so we could meet on site with Dave to go over the project and discuss the concerns, and we were able to come to an agreement and put together a revised plan that showed some revegetation of the BVW there. And I think it's a good project. It's a seasonal dock. It's fairly low impact, and once we can implement the planting plan, I think it will be a good improvement to the property.
Thank you. Questions? Lisa,
No questions.
Ron,
So yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, we talked about some stuff that was done prior to any type of plan before us? Am I correct on that?
Yes, that's correct.
So I mean, I don't know that it's been discussed, or maybe it has, but I don't know if we've come to a conclusion on it yet, as far as any type of fines that would be associated with the pre-work that was done, even though we might have approved it or not approved it.
No, I don't think that has been discussed, but certainly that's normal for the commission to address in a situation like this.
So yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the revised plan and showing, what's going to be where, but obviously with the consistency needs to be addressed. So we need to, bring that up with whatever we're going to talk about on approval or disapproval of whatever we're going to do.
okay. Denise,
I do not have any questions at this time.
Carol,
No questions.
Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Michael,
Thank you.
Sandy, I have no questions. Is there anybody on the line who would like to comment on this project? Hearing none?
So I have a motion to close the hearing.
Second,
I have a motion to close the hearing. All in favor? Alyssa,
Yes.
Ron, Denise,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Kwame, Michael,
Yes.
Sandy, hearing's closed.
So before I make the motion on the project, the work that was done, Dave, was that all done by the homeowner, or was there a contractor that did the work? Do we know that?
As far as I know, it was done by the homeowner, but honestly, it's relatively minor in terms of the work, but he may have had a contractor involved. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, because that would, if we don't, if we don't know the answer to that, what should we just
You-
issue?
Issue the fine to the homeowner.
Okay. So Sandy, you might have to pull the paper out on this one. Because because we would have approved them to do this work, Dave.
Yes, I think that situation would warrant $100 fine.
So that's why I just wanted to have Sandy pull out the.
Start $100, starting any approved work prior to no, at $100. Failure can comply, no, failure, wait a minute. Wait a minute, I'm getting there. $300 for any work requiring conservation approval in wetlands or in 30 to 50 feet, no work zone, nope. $200, any work requiring conservation commission approval in flood zone or 100 foot of edge of water, riverbank, that would have been permitted if it had been filed, so it's a $200 fine.
Okay, yep.
Okay, so and as far as the project itself, we've got the restoration plan. Is there and what about conditions? Did we have any conditions to?
It was standard order conditions
Okay.
with the revised plan. The dock is to be stored off season beyond the 30 foot, the restoration plan. Well, the revegetation, so that was it. There was just two actions after the standard order of conditions, the storage of the dock and the restoration planting.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the project with the standard order of conditions with the added conditions of storing the dock above the 30 foot no activity zone and the restoration plan as submitted, and also a $200 fine to the homeowner for starting work prior to commission approval.
Second.
That's the motion. I heard a second. Here we go. Alyssa, Ron,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Kwame, Michael, Sandy. Done, approved. Before you see Mr. Bichette, before you start the work, okay?
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Night. The next one, we have the town of Wareham, Heinz Field. Is there anybody here representing that project?
I am Bill Madden from GAF Engineering on behalf of the town of Wareham.
Okay. Mr. Bichette, I'm trying to realize, why did we continue? Okay,
We continued, so Mr. Madden and I could meet at the site to review the proposed stormwater structures and go over some other issues relative to the site, the revised site plan. So let me just pull
Thank you.
this up here.
I just had notes all over the place and I couldn't tell what notes from past notes. Okay. Excuse me, I'll be right back.
Well, did everybody have a good Easter?
Yes, how about you?
Yep.
Okay,
Day after.
sorry.
Yes, she is.
Okay,
Okay, so this project site is at Heinz Field and Onset, and the project involves the construction of a parking lot in the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland and also within a coastal flood zone. A 94 space parking lot is proposed on what is known as Heinz Field, approximately 35 feet from the edge of the wetland and within coastal flood zone AE elevation 14. And the project includes all the other features in terms of landscaping, curbing, lighting, and sidewalks and whatnot. So at the last meeting, we had discussed the issue of the revised site plan, which did have a stormwater BMP included to handle stormwater runoff. And I did have some question about what was being represented as previously disturbed, because there was some area on there that I did not think should have been included in that. Mr. Madden and I did meet at the site, and he said that certain areas would be removed or not included as part of that, in terms of what would be considered redevelopment versus new. So after going over things, I did still have some concerns with the scale of this project and the stormwater that would be generated from something of this size. I'm not opposed to a parking lot in this area, but it's my recommendation that the project should be scaled back so that you don't have so much impervious area proposed and lesser alteration, and also have less alteration of the part of the project that's currently wooded or undisturbed, which is proposed to be cut into. So in terms of the stormwater BMPs, this is a tough site for sure. And part of what's required for stormwater management is to recharge stormwater generated from the proposed impervious area. So that's obviously difficult in a site like this where groundwater is very close to the surface. Mr. Madden does propose recharge through these islands that are within the parking lot. I asked about whether or not you had to recharge the water generated from the pavement. Mr. Madden thinks that this meets the standard. So I do think that's questionable. But overall, I just think the scale of work proposed on this site is more than what should be on this particular site. I think if it was scaled back, the stormwater issues would be reduced. And so that's my thought on it. I didn't get back out there to see if things had gotten staked out, to be honest. So I don't know whether that had been done or not, but that's my recommendation for this. I think it should be scaled back.
So Dave, how many? Right now, he's looking at 94 spaces. What do you mean? Can you be more specific about what you mean scaled back? Cut down 10 spaces? 15? Can you be?
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to see, I don't know, this last whole bank of area here, to me, if this was sort of cut back and.
Don't move it so fast.
I'm saying
Put
maybe
your
if,
cursor, that upper bank, that right there.
yeah, I mean, if this whole thing were taken off and the parking lot sort of ended somewhere in here, I just think the scale and also the clearing into the trees over here, I just would like to see that scaled back. That's just my own opinion. The commission can look at it and make your own judgment call on it.
Okay,
after
those
Mr.
trees are
Madden.
not very, that's not very significant trees. They're pretty young. Okay, I'm gonna ask, Bill, comments.
Well, what we thought, we do know that it's a little bit difficult to deal with our recharge due to the high water table. So what I did is I looked at the 4 islands in the center in the parking lot. Those things total almost 2,500 square feet. And what we had done is shown 2 feet of excavate them out, 2 feet of sand, 1 foot of pea stone in the top of it, and would hope that our recharge would not be coming from the surface water runoff, but from the precipitation that falls from the sky. Same precipitation that falls on the ground, it just goes directly into those infiltration beds, and it doesn't require any treatment at all and does fulfill a recharge component for the project as a whole. That's just the thing that we came up with. I suppose I could ask for a waiver on the recharge component here, given the location, but in an effort to try to provide some level of recharge, we felt that we could have about 3,000 cubic feet of area of volume of that could be suitable for recharge. I mean, we get 44 inches of rainfall a year in the region. If all that falls on each one of those areas, it will recharge directly into the ground. And I think it accomplishes what the intent of the regulations is to provide recharge for the impervious area, regardless of how you do it. So that was my thought process on it. If it certainly is up to the commission to make a determination as to whether or not you feel that that's appropriate. I agree with you that the trees over there and the shrubs, I mean, those areas are pretty small in context to the project. They're not high quality at all. It's kind of a ratty little area, at least in my opinion. I apologize for the term, but there's nothing special over there in my mind. And I think that, cleaning it up would perhaps be an improvement to the area. Biggest thing that I really want to talk about is how we want to deal with the water quality component of the project. And I know that Dave and I met on the site in some of the areas that are, maybe we can go back to one of the plans in a minute, but some of the areas that are been used as gravel driveways through the parking lot, we included those as areas that were basically devoid of topsoil, not performing any positive function whatsoever. So we were, we considered that as a developed element of the site, in addition to the paved portion. So I kept out a pretty good sized area from the calculations as redevelopment. And that led me to be able to select a rain garden that was, a bit smaller. And what we want to do in that rain garden, and I think we talked about it the last time, could be confused, but we want to treat it as a filtering rain garden. So we want our volume of water to flow into that rain garden, be filtered through the soil medium, and then be discharged into a drain line that's underneath the planted rain garden, and tie into a manhole that would be constructed on that existing 12-inch drain line. That 12-inch drain line connects into the municipal system in Wareham Ave, runs across Heinz Field, and discharges into the, I don't know what the name of the embayment is on the opposite side of Lopes Playground, but that's where it ends up going. And we would propose to put an inline check valve in our outlet pipe from our rain garden to prevent any salt water from flowing into our rain garden, because that water would stay there because it's going to have a liner in the bottom. It's filtering. It doesn't exfiltrate into the ground where we would get our groundwater recharge because the groundwater is too high. It really filters it in a basin, in a bathtub, let's call it, and then ties into that drain line, and then runs across the street into the town system and across the street and discharges into that embayment. So that's how we were proposing to handle most of the stormwater there. We show that we have a small level spreader out at the rear of it, so that when you do get the more intense rainfall events, that the water would, still drain through the system. First flush is what we're contending with and what we're dealing with in a stormwater management system such as this. Excess flow after the first flush passes would discharge through that level spreader and find its way into the neighboring wetland. So that was the concept. I think we talked about, I hope I'm not repeating myself. Did we talk about that the last time? Perhaps not to this degree, but that's what the goal was. Those rain garden turrets that we show, those round circles at the end of the parking lot, those will remove, their pre-treatment devices. They'll remove all the coarse sediment, all the floatables, all the trash that's in that stormwater, and it will collect it, and it'll be visible and viewable at the surface, so that, when the appropriate party comes along to clean those things out.
And not the garden club. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what, it's right there. It's not like in a catch basin. I'd like them over catch basins in some instances, this being one of them, is that you see it there and you know that it needs to be cleaned up. In a catch basin, you have 4-foot sump, you don't know what's in the bottom of it. And, the only time it's clean, needs to be cleaned is when the thing's full to the top and exceptional water. So, that's what we were concepting out there. I think that based upon the discussion Dave had about me being a little liberal on what I considered prior disturbed, it resulted in a smaller rain garden. I'll have to increase that. But, if it doesn't look like we're going to find common ground on the infiltration and the infiltration portion of the project, and we're stubbing our toe a little bit on the rain garden stuff and the size of the project, I don't know, whether it's worthwhile to continue on with the project. I think we discovered where that 12-inch drain line went. Nobody really needs to know, but I'm sorry, we do need to know where it goes, and nobody knew where it went at the time. And it was at our expense that we had to dig that up, find it, and figure out where it all goes. But, you know, now we know, and we can provide some solution to the backflow of water into that wetland, because that's where the majority of it comes from, is through that 12-inch pipe. It ebbs and flows with the rising tide from that embayment on the other side. When we were out there surveying it, they watched the water fill it and they watched it drain out. So I just rely on what my guys told me on that. But, you know, it's a tricky site. There's a lot of things that we have to be a little bit more creative than just going to the recipe book and pulling something out that's palatable to everybody, and just trying to find the way to make it work. It's a hard site, and I guess that's where I am with it at the present time.
Okay, thank you. Questions? I'm going to go down, Alyssa.
Yeah, I don't really have questions. I just want to make sure the parking spaces are big enough for people, and I guess I wouldn't mind taking away maybe 8% of the parking or something like that. I think it's an amazing amount of work that's been done on this, and I think it's great.
Ron?
No, I mean, I don't have any questions. I think there's been a tremendous amount of work that's been put into, getting this project to where it is. I can see the difficulties of the site. I can see a scale back. I don't know, 8, 9, 10%, but does that really suffice enough if we're talking about bigger issues? I don't know, but I think it's definitely a good project, but it's a lot of things to think about.
Denise?
I'm with Ron and Elisa on the area that I really like this project. I like where you're putting it. If you were to entertain Dave's request to remove that back row of parking spaces, how would that affect your project? Would it make it not worth it? Would you put something in there that would make the project more palatable to David to put something else in that area? What, Bill?
I think what would end up happening there is that it would be consumed as a rain garden. We would expand it because of me taking as much credit as I did for the disturbed areas on the site. I think that I had almost 2/3 of the site as prior. Well, I have the numbers floating around here someplace, but
Right.
the prior altered area was pretty big. Overall, there's roughly like 40,000 square feet of impervious area on the site right now. And I think that I thought that we had roughly 25,000 square feet of area that would be considered redeveloped. I think that if looking at what Dave and I talked about, I think that number gets sliced down to 15,000 or something along those lines, and then we're providing treatment for the 30,000. For 30,000 square feet as opposed to 15. So that would make that drainage basin about 2 times the size that it is right now. But those are all options. I think that perhaps that those are like relatively simple plan changes. I think that what I would need to do is run it by my client and see what they think about
Also,
that.
if you took that back row out and you did this larger rain garden thing, could you then add other spaces to make up some of the lost spaces in this area where you have, I don't know, what was that? Those triangles or those odd shaped things on the end?
Oh, the islands?
Yes. Would that help you, giving you more of the spaces back and still be able to address the issue by making that rain garden bigger along the back?
Yeah, I think that we gain, maybe a half a dozen spaces at the most by doing that. As it is, we're using the size that zoning permits for a parking space. They're 9.5 by 19s. Personal preference is 10 by 20s, just because I think that's what you need if you drive a big truck. And,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think that we could do that. I don't know if it's really worth it. I think that if everybody would prefer to see some recharge, we can cut down the size of those recharge areas. It will perform, the recharge will occur, it will perform a function. Maybe we can move some of that to another location. But when we do that, we compromise on our perimeter landscaping and what have you. And another thing that, that we did talk about is debris and things like that finding its way into the drainage basin. When I was away this past week and I looked at this weekend, I looked at a pretty interesting site, and what they used was the compost filled wattles because they're heavy. They don't require staking. They stay in place. And I saw a band of those wattles on the outside edge of a sidewalk by a stone trench, in that you'd be just surprised at how much like leaves, debris, bottles, cigarettes, all got trapped right against that wattle and, prevented it from going into that infiltration trench. But it performed a pretty good function, I think, as far as separating the drainage from the debris. So
where would you put that?
I'd probably put it right on the, however the drainage basin works out, I'd probably put it right at the end of the parking spaces or the end of the pavement before it goes into the rain garden.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Carol,
No questions.
Kwame,
No questions. I was going to say, I know this is a long overweighted project and it took some time. And hopefully with all these address situations, we can try to get this going.
Michael,
If you're looking just a straight reduction, just on those back rows, you're looking at about 30 spots. But other than that, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of a reduction. That's all. Anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead.
And one of the tricky things with the reduction is the circulation route in the parking lot. We have to build that, so we like to double load it when we have the opportunity. It's more cost effective. It gives you a better value per parking space. And, while we'd be taking something away, maybe it's not
Okay.
a perfect situation, but it's a compromise.
okay, Bill, that back, Michael, did you have anything else?
No, that was it. Go ahead.
Okay, Bill, I got it. That back row is 16 slots and they're 19 feet long.
Yep.
If you were to remove those 16 slots and bring your rain garden maybe 8 or 9 feet into the parking area,
Yep.
you still have a wide turnaround. You have reduced the amount of pervious surface. You reduced it from 90, you reduced it by 16. Is that possible by bringing that rain garden closer to the actual parking area and remove those 16 slots and just leave them as open space?
Yeah,
Or
I
maybe
think that,
they
yeah.
come parallel park, which you can put maybe 4 cars in parallel parking there. I don't know.
There would be a few spaces. I think you could get parallel parking. It's a good suggestion. It's a good idea.
I would recommend that because you're hearing the board talking about a reduction. You're hearing the board talk about a better water retention system. Does anybody make this? Am I summarizing everybody?
Right.
That'd be a bad idea.
And we also feel that it's a positive project. We don't want to lose the project. We just
No.
wanna-
And I really do think we need Mr. Menard's approval to have your retention basin there because it will have to be cleaned out frequently and he's the staff that will do it.
And I
So,
think that if we're able to, if we put something like that water that'll last for a number of years, a couple of years, maybe it makes everybody's life it will
Yeah,
make everybody's
then-
life a little easier.
then why don't you come back with a revised plan, getting rid of those 16 parking places, putting in a water retention system that you saw in Pennsylvania, and let us take a look at the plan. Is that all right?
That's fine.
And I just want to point out too, that I'm not opposed to the project either. I just think needs to be the stormwater. You don't want this to become a pollution source. That's the key. And so that's my objective, is not to say that the project shouldn't go forward. I just want to make sure that the stormwater treatments are the best that can be put in place if it's going to be put forward.
So, Bill, you talked to Mr. Buckland. It's Buckland's
Yeah.
project, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Is there
Yeah, no,
anybody on the
I'll
line?
do that. And that's fine. The treatment though is a filtering rain garden. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want everybody, hopefully everybody has a good grasp on that. And, I think it's really the only solution we have right here in this particular instance. I think it's a good one.
Okay, then is there anybody on the line who wants to comment on this project? If not, I'd like the continuance.
Move to continue.
Second,
I have a motion and a second to continue until May 4th. Alyssa, Ron,
yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Carol, Kwame, Michael,
Yes.
are continued until May 4th. And Bill, I'll be happy to talk with Mr. Buckland. I'm sure Dave and I could, if he has any concerns about our recommendations.
Okay, well, I'll talk to him tomorrow. We'll figure out what to do and just keep this thing moving forward. I think
Okay.
that's fine. And
Thank you.
and I apologize for not having all this stuff staked out. It's just been,
That's, it
Yeah.
happened. Okay,
but I'll take care of it.
thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
RC Motto has requested a continuance.
Motion to continue to May 4th.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Alyssa, Ron, Denise, Carol,
Yes.
Kwame, Michael,
Yes.
Sandy, yes, we're continued until May 4th. The next hearing is for Wareham MA3, which I call 90 Fairing Hill Road. Is there anybody here for that project?
Motion to
Hearing
continue
none.
to 4th.
I have a motion to continue until May 4th.
Second.
And a second, all in favor, Alyssa, Ron, Denise,
Yes.
Carol, Kwame, Michael,
Yes.
Sandy. The next one is Wareham PV1. I want to make it clear, Mr. Bichette, this is it. I want them here at the next meeting. I don't care if their plan is done or not done. I want to hear what is happening. They can come before planning, they can come before us.
Which one
Yeah,
is
no,
that?
that's fine. The project is in the process of having Charlie Rowley review it. And so that's what's being waited for right now. But I can certainly make them aware that they need to appear at the next meeting to personally
This-
bring it up to speed to the commission.
Thank you. This is the solar project that she's coming off of Route 25.
Oh, okay.
Wareham
Yes.
PV1, and it's been continued, but hey, if they can talk to planning about the height of the trees around the project, they can come talk to us.
They've been well over a
Please.
year, haven't they?
It's been a while, not that long, but
No, it hasn't been that long, no.
I
let's
thought
see,
it
when
was
was,
last spring, but, all right.
Sandy,
Sure.
Sandy,
yes,
on the fifth thing that we went over, the 264 Cremesa Road with that sand thing. I want to make sure that you got me as a no and not a yes.
wait a minute.
on the approval.
For Michael, they came before us October 6, 21.
All right, thanks.
Okay, which one was it?
The
She's
264.
she's talking about
Cremesa.
Warren Pine.
Yeah, but we didn't approve him, did we? I mean,
Warren
Yes, we
Pine.
did.
Be dead.
So it's 60110.
No, 610.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have the enforcement orders. We're gonna bypass those, correct, Mr. Pichette?
Yes, I thought that I might have had a chance to get out to that particular site for both of them, and it just didn't come together before this meeting, so I'd like to put those off till the next meeting.
And if anybody hasn't done it, it should, I strongly recommend you go down Onset Ave and take a look at 71 Onset Ave. From the road, you can see their great new fire pit right at the water's edge. So that's it. Now we have minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes. You'll see that there has been a new agenda posted for Monday at 5 o'clock to go through the 2 remaining sets that are being worked on for October 6th and December 1st. They'll be ready for that Monday meeting, but right now we have 2 sets of minutes. April 21st, 21. So this is 4/21/21. See, everybody was here.
And everybody's here almost a year later.
I don't think I was a member at that point. I didn't become.
No, you won't, because I remember you were there, you discussed it, you were interested in becoming a member. That's it.
Correct.
That's where you were.
She was still here.
She was here, yes.
So
but-
that I
so-
could still vote on the minutes.
She could
or not?
abstain, right?
She can vote on the minutes.
No, she was here.
lis-
She could vote.
She listened
voted
to it.
on
Want to
now.
make sure, because
Okay,
I wasn't a full member at that time, so.
But you are now, and you heard, and you were there for the minutes. So I'll take a
Okay.
motion to accept April 21/21.
Motion to accept April 21/21 minutes.
Second,
All in favor, Alyssa, Ron,
Yes.
Denise, Carol, Kwame, Michael, Sandy, 700. Yay. Okay, next set of minutes are May 5th, 2021. Denise, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We were all here. Denise was an associate, but she was here. She heard it. So this is 5/5/21.
Motion to accept the minutes of 5/5/21.
second,
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, Alyssa, Ron,
Yes.
Denise, Carol, Kwame, Michael, Sandy,
Yes.
700. I will get signed and submitted, so we're down to 2. Now, you want to, I think Mike left the hearing on camp. Dave,
What was that?
I think Mike left the hearing. for
Yeah,
camp.
I don't see him on here. I mean, I could still go over it.
I'm
Yeah.
here.
Mike's here.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I thought I had
No,
seen
no,
some-
no, not that
Mike.
Mike. We're talking about another Mike.
another Mike.
Oh, I grew up with 5 mics in class, so I'm used to it. Go ahead.
Okay. So you want to talk about camp, or can this? I'm tired.
I will talk about it, and then if the commission has no questions, we can take an action. If they do, then we can wait till we have Mr. Lenahan back on the line. Oh, actually, he's checking back in right now.
Okay. Then I guess we can talk
I'll wait
about,
for him to, I'll wait for him to come up, and then we'll talk about it.
okay. Yeah.
okay, we got him back.
Okay, let's talk about camp.
Oh, geez, just made it, I guess.
Okay, let me just get this plan up so people can see it.
I'm going to step away for another minute.
Okay, so this particular discussion has to do with the group known as CAMP, or Clean Up Agawam Mill Pond, and they have had an order of conditions in place for several years to do treatment of invasive aquatic vegetation with herbicide. So they've had this plan going for several years now, and they're sort of in maintenance phases at this point in time. And Mike Lenahan, who's been heading up this project, is on the line, who will comment in a few moments. But essentially, they're presenting their treatment plan for 2022 to, again, spot treat areas so that the invasive plants don't continue to take over the pond and sort of destroy all the work they've done over the last several years. So the plan this year is again to do an herbicide treatment, and typically they have always used this one particular herbicide known as Clipper. This year they're looking to add a second herbicide, which is known as Procelicor. This is used to treat a different type of invasive plant that's been identified as starting to get a little bit more prominent in the pond. So that's basically the discussion at this point, and I'll let Mike speak to it a little bit more, since he's kind of the, as I said, the one who's spearheading this whole project. And he can kind of go over where things stand with the project. So the project has been reviewed by the Division of Marine Fisheries and the Natural Heritage Program, and they both have okayed what's being proposed in this 2022 plan.
All right, Dave, thank you. This is an ongoing project for you newer members here that may not have seen me yet. This is about, I think, every year we do a treatment of the pond. Took me a couple of years to get approval through the state and everything, but this is probably my 7th appearance, because we do the treatment, it knocks the weeds down. The next year we take a look at the pond, we do some more spot treatments, and it works very well. The pond remains clear. I don't know if any of you people use it over there. It's quite active with fishing derbies and kayaking. I mean, the water is remarkable compared to what it was before we started this. But so when we first came before Dave and the commission, every year we propose a plan of what we're going to do. And I have an order of conditions, but the commission typically, I guess, gives 1 year at a time on the order of conditions. So I come back every year with a final report of what happened and what the results of everything. It's a 10-page report by professional, aquatic scientists, and so everything's been working good. The reports come back fine. I go through all the state agencies, the DEP, the National Heritage, and Division of Marine Fisheries, and you guys. And this is my 7th appearance, and everything's pretty much operating all the same, meeting all the criteria that the different agencies set. Now, the only thing this year is that, our consultants suggested we try this second chemical in conjunction with the product that we're using now. And it's a newer, I sent everybody, I think, Dave, did you distribute the information I had on it and so forth?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite scientific for all of us. But the fact of the matter is that it's been approved through EPA, like all of these products are, and it's well known in Massachusetts, for the last few years, and all the agencies in Massachusetts have approved it. And the agencies, like I say, that I deal with every year, they've seen this plan that you're looking at, which you're only seeing one map, but that's also like a 12-page production that we put together every year. It looks very similar some, year after year, but they've approved everything. So we're here in front of you again this year to go forward with our, I think, 6th or 7th treatment. And I represent about 75 abutters around the pond, which is about 60 to 65% of the abutters are members of camp. And we're hopeful to use this second chemical. They've had great luck with it, and even the state is using it on their own ponds. That's pretty much it, Dave, I guess. I mean, I'm looking for to extend the order conditions. It's within, the time limits and so forth. We're probably, every 5 years, I have to do another, a little bit larger report, which that's because of the endangered species requirement, and we'll be doing that next year. What is that, Dave? That's a Mesa filing that? I'm becoming.
Yes, that's what the natural heritage
I'm gonna be a
requires.
conservation member here pretty soon if I get more knowledge. But I appreciate what you guys have been doing, and I know some of you had seen me before, but maybe some of you haven't, and kind of wraps up my presentation, I think, unless you have any questions.
I would just like to further state that the treatment is a one-day treatment. So
Yeah.
it's done one day in June. So this is not a thing that goes on for weeks or anything like that. It's just a one-day treatment done by mass certified herbicide applicators, which you have to be in order to use this and to put this out. And so that's done by this company called Solitude Lake Management, who is the ones who you see their name on this report. So I just wanted to point that out to the commission so you understood that this was basically a one-day treatment. And if anybody has any questions, bring them up and we'll discuss.
Okay,
We lost our chairperson.
yeah, well, Sandy had to get a peanut butter sandwich. I'm
Okay.
absolutely on my bottom. Questions, Alyssa? Ron?
No, I don't have any questions. I think it's great that this is something that is being done and it's continued to be done. And I applaud the work of the program, and I'm happy that they've continued to go with it.
Denise?
Is this the only place that this is taking place? The only pond in town?
It's the only one I know of.
Yes, it is, because it's the only pond where a citizens group decided to make the effort to do this. It's not that this is the only pond that potentially needs treatment or could benefit from it. It's just that Mike and folks that live on the pond decided they wanted to see something happen, and they took it upon themselves to do this.
Oh.
So they're paying for it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, well, I have
Oh,
to
you're
shake a
paying
few
for it.
people upside down every year, but they've been most of the people are all for it. It just makes so much sense. I mean, why would you live in a pond, that's infested with weeds if you can actually,
Yeah.
get it done?
Go out canoeing and actually put a paddle in the water and not come up full of weeds.
Have you done that? I hope you have. I think you do. I think you do go there, right?
I have,
I know you have.
so I know how bad
It's a public boat ramp, so everybody can go there. This pond, even though it's being funded by private parties, it's a public pond and it's a public boat ramp, so the more the merrier.
Okay. Denise, anything else?
No, I was just curious. So this isn't the only place that has this issue. It's just the only place that citizens have taken it to correct the issue.
Yes.
Thank you.
And statistics of pretty much a third of all ponds in Massachusetts have an issue, have a serious problem.
Okay. Carol?
No questions. Great job. I think it's a wonderful thing they're doing.
Kwame?
Oh, no, it's a great project. Hopefully it keeps going.
Michael?
I think it's a wonderful thing you're doing. Hopefully setting a good example. Thank you.
Yeah, all right, you're welcome, thanks.
Denise, if you go to Tremont Nail and stand on Elm Street
Yeah.
and look up toward the Route 28, that's what the pond looks like, full of that weed.
Okay. I will. Thank you.
Okay. So Dave, do we vote or just as a consensus of support?
Well, I would say two things. So the commission should just sort of give their support and approval for this treatment plan of 2022. As far as the extension, officially extending the order of conditions, I did not actually put that on the agenda for this meeting, but I will put it on for the next meeting. So at this meeting, you're basically just going to vote to give your support for the proposed treatment plan for 2022. And then at the next meeting, since you've already seen what we're talking about, it would just be a matter of voting for an extension, but I just did not put it on officially on this agenda.
Okay, so this is a vote to support the project for 2022.
Yes.
I move that we vote to approve this project for 2022. Oh, that we vote to approve to support this
Yeah,
project,
support the project.
Yep,
2022.
Second,
I have a motion and a second to support the project. All in favor, Alyssa, Ron,
yes.
Denise, Carol, Kwame, Michael,
Yes.
Sandy, 700. You got the support.
Well,
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure. Dave, what does this mean? As far as, I'm getting my extension next week, is that what you're saying? Next meeting?
At the next meeting, it'll be put on for the commission to officially vote to grant the extension, yes. But at this point, they've approved what you want to propose for 2022.
Okay, well, I'll give you a call during the week, maybe. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Very much.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night. Yeah, bye-bye.
Sorry, too much peanut butter in my peanut butter sandwich. Okay, response to the AG letter. You want to talk about it, Dave, or are we close?
I think we're pretty much close. It's just a matter of getting those last few sets of minutes completed and voted on Monday, and then we can get all those sets of minutes to the person who requested the information, and that should wrap up the issues with regards to the AG's requirement of the commission.
Now, it's my understanding Miss Vicky would be willing to get acknowledgement that all the minutes have been posted on the town website, and she does not want a hard copy.
Correct.
Okay.
I have a
Now,
one
I
question,
did,
Sandy.
wait in a minute.
Okay.
I didn't compare my list of minutes to those posted on the website and came up with at least 8 sets of minutes that have been approved but not posted. And Mr. Bichette is working with the town clerk to get that. And I know Denise is going to talk about the open meeting component of, yeah.
The certificate, do we have, I mean, I did one and turned it in. Are we supposed to be doing that? Because we were supposed to do it within 2 weeks of her letter. We have to fill out the AG approved form.
Yeah, now,
I thought the clerk said she was going to take care of that.
But she didn't have any of you guys sign it, did she?
Well,
And even
she,
wanted
her,
it.
her response to the AG's office is that that's the form that the town has used historically, and that it should be sufficient.
But the
So,
AG said it was not, and the town clerk then said that she would use the other form if that's what the AG wanted.
Well,
okay,
she'd have to.
so what I
Sorry, Dave,
can,
your turn.
yeah, what I can do with that is get that form, and then when people come in to sign documents from this meeting, we can get that all squared away at the same time. if
Yeah, I
people are
think just
okay
to
with that.
cover ourselves, just to cover
Yep.
ourselves, that we've done everything she wanted us to do.
Okay,
Okay, so when you come in to sign for the paperwork for this meeting, you'll be signing that document Dave's going to give us for the open meeting.
I don't
Component,
need one,
Dave.
Dave. I filled mine out last time I saw you. I did it that day. I had filled it out and turned it.
okay, very good.
Good,
Well,
thank
I'm
you.
also there too. Okay,
All
what's
right. Almost done, folks. Kwame and Alyssa, your term on conservation expires at the end of June. My question, are the two of you willing to be reappointed?
Yes.
You're muted, Alyssa.
I still can't hear you.
I think she said yes.
Okay, so we as a commission need to vote on each one of them. Send a letter in to the Board of Selectmen that we support their reappointment, but both Kwame and Alyssa must send a letter indicating their wish to be reappointed to the selectmen. So I'll take a motion to recommend Kwame to be reappointed to Conservation Commission.
I move to,
Just say, I so moved.
I so move.
Second.
You're
All
so
in
moved.
favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Alyssa, Ron, Denise,
Aye.
Carol, Kwame, Michael,
Aye.
Sandy. 700.
Yep.
I need a motion to make a recommendation for Alyssa, her to be reappointed to Conservation. Commission.
No.
Don't want to?
No, what?
I'm not going to be reappointed.
I think
You don't
she's
want to be
reti- I think
reappointed.
she's retiring from us.
I'm retiring from you.
Okay. Then
That's
we
why
will
she
only,
stayed muted. She didn't want to say it back then. She wanted to
Yeah.
say.
It looked like yes. I thought I saw it, yes. So
And-
sorry,
okay,
Elisa,
so-
it's already been done. We voted on it and you're being reappointed. You don't have a choice.
Right.
okay, so I will indicate that you've indicated you do not want to be reappointed.
Right.
Okay, now, but I think the governor by mid-July will give us a yes or will say no to Zooming. So I would expect we will be coming back face to face soon as he makes that announcement in mid-July. So listen closely for it. And I don't know whether, sorry?
Another 2.5 months, mid-July?
Yep.
Really?
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see if we can get together closer, but we could say goodbye to Ron.
Right.
So are we gonna be really short here? If
Yes.
Lisa goes and Ron goes here?
Well, Ron may very well not even make the May 4th meeting.
It depends.
Do you know why?
Because if he
If
gets
he's
elected, he
If he's
can't.
elected selectman, he cannot be any board committees or commissions. So we may very well be saying goodbye to Ron.
Wow.
Oh,
But
Damn.
Alyssa
Think about the
stays to
days
the,
when I was
sorry,
looking.
Alyssa stays to the end of June.
I
Yes.
do.
that's a good
I
thing.
mean, if that does happen, I would try to push to be the liaison so that I could still attend meetings when I have time. But I mean, I could still pop on, but just have to wait and see. I mean, there's still a lot to go. Oh, forget it. We're not gonna talk anymore. Alan just walked in. Oh, hi, Alan.
You guys are all weenies.
I'm sorry, he had 7 meetings. Am I supposed to be sorry for him? Not one of them lasted 4 hours.
That's because you guys don't know how to work.
Sa-
Okay.
Oh, Sandy, I think we do have another item to possibly
Solar
over-
bylaw discussion and vote.
Oh, yes, at the last meeting, it was 303 because I had not read it and I read it and I now support the solar bylaw submitted by the solar bylaw committee. Who are the other 2 that abstained?
I don't remember. Was I one?
Ron, you didn't send, I sent you an email asking you to send me the summary. I didn't receive it. Can you do that?
Yeah, I can send you the we have a 1-pager and we also have a like a PowerPoint, so I can send you both of those so you can see them.
That would be so great. Thank you.
But your email must have gotten lost in the 3,500 that I've gone over in the last like 5 days, because there's been a lot of discussion because we're getting so close to the meeting. So there's a lot going on. So I apologize, but I'll send it to you tonight
Great. Thank
before
you.
I go to sleep. Or I mean, pass out, because I don't go to sleep. I just pass out. I'll send that to you before the end of the night.
Thank you.
Who was the other person that abstained at the last meeting? I know one was me.
I don't know. It might have been me. I don't think I read it.
Okay, well, the question is, like to have a vote of support for the solar bylaw submitted by the solar bylaw committee.
So we're gonna take the
Do
vote.
we move? Do we move that? So moved?
Yeah, so moved.
Second,
I have a second. All in favor of showing support of that, Alyssa,
Yes.
Ron,
Abstain.
Denise,
Yes.
Carol,
yes.
Kwame,
Absolutely.
Michael, Sandy, yes. So we have, sorry,
He's just voting, Sandy. He's not doing anything behind you.
601 and at discussion for town meeting on Monday, I will stand up if needed and indicate that Conservation Commission supports this article.
And I will do that minutes that I told you I'll do.
Okay, is that all right, Nancy and Kathy? I see you're still there.
Are they back again? Oh, I see her.
They're
Yep.
there, yeah. There's a thumbs up. We got them. Okay, so that was been done. I think that does it, folks. Is there anything else on the line here, Mr. Bichette, that we didn't cover?
No, I believe that should do it.
Move to adjourn.
Oh,
Second.
thank you.
Second,
Oh,
Oh,
I gotta think about that one.
9:40. Don't you think bad hard on it, Michael? It's 9:40. and I
You
have a
know,
mo-
I'm on vacation this week and it's kind of, I don't gotta get up tomorrow morning, except my mom's probably gonna meet some of you folks, so.
Vacation. What is vacation?
must be nice.
I work
Okay,
in a local school district. I got the week off.
Oh, here we
Alright.
go.
So I have a
Good
motion
work.
and a second.
you know.
All in favor of adjourning at 9:40, say yes. Thank you,
Yes.
everybody. And
So,
sorry it was
have
a
a
long
great
one.
night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good one.